When Alex Cross opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the violent world of John Wick. But he wasn't powerless. He carried a golden system, one that allowed him to summon killers, soldiers, and legends from other movies to fight by his side. With New York already burning in blood, Alex made his choice without hesitation. Challenge the high table, crush the Camorra family, and carve his name into the underworld. From storming the Salisbury Hotel to bending the rules of the Continental, Alex builds an empire brick by brick. Gianna and the Camorra tremble, the bounty hunters fall one by one, and the high table is forced to the edge. Even John Wick respects him. Alex is dangerous, but a man I'd fight beside. Blind Kane swears loyalty, he's my boss. Not even Wick can touch him. The shadows of New York belong to Alex Cross now. The high table thought they ruled the world. They were wrong. Well, hello there. Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in John Wick as an Assassin, Part 1. If you enjoy this content, please smash the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description. I hope you enjoy listening to it.
It was late at night. New York. Heavy rain poured endlessly. At the entrance of the Continental Hotel, splash, splash. The sound of shoes striking puddles echoed. Alex Cross held an umbrella. He stepped onto the hotel stairs. Through the doors, his eyes caught sight of the man in a sharp suit, glasses perched on his face, Sharon, the concierge. For a fleeting moment, an unreadable light flashed in Alex's eyes. He whispered to himself, so it really is Sharon. I've actually crossed over into the world of John Wick. Without further hesitation, he pushed open the door and entered. At that moment, a series of mechanical chimes rang in his mind. Ding! Host has entered the Continental Hotel. The system is now fully activated. Identity information updated, newbie gift pack issued, system mall unlocked. Walking toward the front desk, Alex silently commanded in his mind, System, open the newbie gift pack. A second later, more chimes followed. Newbie gift pack opened successfully. Congratulations, host has received 10 sand coins, 1 assassin recruitment scroll, purple, 1 free discount voucher. Tap. Tap. The crisp sound of footsteps approached from the entrance. At the front desk, Sharon, who had been lowering his head, looked up with his signature smile. Good evening, sir. Alex didn't respond. Instead, he reached into his pocket. A single gold coin was placed on the counter. Only then did he speak, calmly, I need a room. I'll be staying for about 2 nights. Of course. Sharon, smiling as always, smoothly produced a room key card and handed it forward. Sir, this is your room key. You'll be staying in room 817. Alex accepted the key card and was about to turn away when Karen's voice sounded again. Sir, if I may take a moment of your time. Before you head upstairs, I am obliged to remind you of a few rules of the hotel. First, no blood may be spilled on Continental grounds. Violation will result in termination of membership and your life. Second, the hotel provides services including lodging, dining, transportation, contract handling, medical assistance, and more. Each service requires proper coin payment. And lastly, Sharon paused briefly, then smiled once more. Sir, I wish you a pleasant stay. Thank you. With polite acknowledgement, Alex turned and walked toward the elevator. Upstairs. He opened the door to room 817. Setting down his umbrella, Alex let out a long breath and collapsed onto the bed. As a traveler from another world, the experience of crossing over didn't weigh heavily on him. After all, in his previous life, he had been an orphan with no real friends. But now, finding himself in this universe, armed with a strange system, and realizing that the John Wick films form the very foundation of this world, he couldn't help but feel a spark of excitement. Yes, this world's protagonist, John Wick, had taken down 425 people in just 4 movies. But to Alex, whose old life had been numb and colorless, that only promised the thrill he craved. Especially now, with his golden cheat, the system. In an instant, he had already decided on his ultimate goal, to overthrow the high table and claim its place for himself. That was why, the moment the system demanded he reach the Continental to activate it, He had rushed here without delay. Back on the bed, Alex focused his mind. A translucent panel, visible only to him, appeared before his eyes. Host, Alex Cross, age, 22, sand coins, 9, skills, English Mastery Level 2, Driving Mastery Level 1, talents, Quick Learning Level 1, Reading People Level 2, items, Assassin Recruitment Scroll, purple, ×1, free discount voucher ×1, subordinates, 0, functions, System Mall, inventory, 5 slots. System Mall refreshes once per week. Each refresh brings 5 discounted items. Host may consume sand coins to force refresh, but weekly refresh time remains unchanged. Reminder, $1 million equals 1 sand coin. USD may be converted into sand coins, but not vice versa. Sand coins can only be used in the System Mall. The functions were straightforward. Alex's attention naturally gravitated to the Assassin Recruitment Scroll, purple. Assassin Recruitment Scroll, purple upon use, summon one assassin from another cinematic universe. Tier, purple. Absolute loyalty guaranteed. Without hesitation, he selected use. Ding. Assassin Recruitment Scroll activated. Recruiting assassin. A purple glow flashed in the room. And then, a tall, breathtakingly beautiful female assassin appeared before him. At a single glance, Alex's eyes lit up as he exclaimed her name, Anna. Name, Anna Poliatova, age, 22, height, 178 centimeters, skills, English Mastery Level 4, Russian Mastery Level 5, Infiltration and Disguise Level 4, Close Quarters Combat Level 4, Firearms Mastery Level 4, Driving Mastery Level 3, Hacking Level 3, Talents, Quick Learning Level 4, Improvisation Level 4. Defects, early cocaine use has weakened physical condition beyond full recovery, habitual left-hand bag carry, below average sensitivity to firearm weight. Staring at the glowing panel that displayed Anna's details, Alex Cross's eyes lit up. Her strength, though not at the level of John Wick, was still among the top tier in this world. And beyond that, Anna's appearance and figure were both supermodel caliber. But Alex wasn't the type to lose himself at the sight of beauty. Instead, after a brief pause, he waved her over. Master. Anna responded swiftly, walking over in quick strides. What are your orders? Go to the bar downstairs. Gather information on the high table, and pick up a new phone while you're at it. Remember, no killing inside the hotel. Alex handed her a gold coin. Yes, sir. Anna accepted it respectfully and hurried toward the door. Watching her leave, Alex called after her, and another thing, from now on, just call me Mr. Cross. Without waiting for her reply, he focused his mind once more. System, open the mall. In the next instant, a massive panel floated before him. On the left, 5 discounted items were displayed. 1. Bulletproof suits ×20. Kevlar-tailored suits from the John Wick universe, 5 years in the future. Auto-fit after first wear. Value, 2 coins, 90% off, . 2. Assassin Recruitment Scroll, white, ×10. Instantly summon 10 entry-level assassins. No talents, identical skills. Value, 2 coins, 80% off, . 3. Intermediate weapons crates ×20. Each includes a SIG Sauer P320 pistol, Heckler & Koch MP5K, PDW submachine gun, and SOG S37K combat knife. Value, 4 coins, 80% off, . 4. Close Quarters Combat Level 3, a hybrid of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mixed martial arts, and Chinese Sanda. Usable by host and subordinates. Value, 10 coins, 70% off, . 5. Advanced Regeneration Level 3, Special Talent. Healing speed scales with injury severity, recovering within 24 hours. Usable by host and subordinates. Value, 20 coins, 90% off, . Alex ignored the rest of the full-priced catalog. With limited resources, it wasn't worth considering. Still, even among the discounts, he could only afford the 3 cheapest items. Checking his inventory, he muttered, sand coins ×8, free discount voucher ×1. So it left me with just enough for these 3, huh? Complaints aside, Alex spent his 8 sand coins to purchase the 20 bulletproof suits, 20 intermediate weapons crates, and 10 white assassin recruitment scrolls. As for the other 2 items, he wasn't in a rush. The mall would refresh in 7 days. 30 coins, he could earn that in just 1 day tomorrow. And with his free discount voucher, he could still grab advanced regeneration level 3 without spending a dime. Satisfied, Alex stood and entered the bathroom. He stripped down, stepped under the shower, and turned on the water. Just then, the sound of footsteps reached his ears. Moments later, Anna's voice called softly through the door, "Mr. Cross, it's me." Before the words had fully fallen, Anna pushed the door open. Moving naturally, she slipped off her clothes and walked toward him with seductive poise. Picking up the body wash, she poured it into her palm and began rubbing it across his skin, while reporting her findings. "I went to the bar downstairs and found a guide. From him, I learned more about the high table. I also got hold of a new phone." Alex didn't interrupt. Eyes closed, he simply listened as she continued to scrub and brief him. The supreme authority of the high table lies with the elder. The institution itself is made up of 12 seats, each occupied by one of the world's most powerful crime families. They uphold strict, ancient rules. Violation draws the wrath of their enforcement branches. Adjudicators and harbingers, those are their titles, command the table's armed forces. Besides enforcement, there are administrative and service branches, archives, order transfer, the Continental, corpse disposal, and weapons procurement, all of which only accept their minted coins. Kneeling gracefully before him, Anna finished with one last detail. "From what I gathered, assassins fall into 3 categories: those serving under high table families, private assassins tied to the Continental, and freelance bounty hunters." The next morning, 10 a.m., Alex awoke from sleep. Glancing at Anna beside him, he rose, walked into the bathroom, and washed up quickly. When he stepped out, Anna was already up. With a thought, Alex pulled 12 bulletproof suits from his system inventory. He tossed one toward Anna and slipped into another himself. The moment he finished knotting the tie, the suit snugged against his body, adjusting perfectly to his build. Anna's suit adapted the same way, fitting her frame like a second skin. Next, Alex drew out 11 black weapons crates. He handed one to Anna, then pulled out the last of his purchases, 10 white assassin recruitment scrolls. He used them at once. A flash later, 10 new figures appeared in the room. 6 men and 4 women, all in their 20s. Alex casually inspected the data of one. Name, Dickie Valentine. Age, 25. Height, 183 centimeters. Skills, English Mastery Level 3, Infiltration and Disguise Level 1, Close Quarters Combat Level 1, Firearms Mastery Level 1, Driving Level 1, Talent, None, Evaluation, a faceless extra in the assassin world. Adequate for handling a few ordinary people. Fair enough. Alex muttered. Still, he didn't complain. He clapped his hands and barked his first order. "Each of you, 1 suit, 1 crate. Get changed immediately. We're leaving the hotel soon." While the new recruits changed, Alex picked up his phone and browsed through bounty listings. He quickly understood how things worked in this world. Bounties were divided into 3 categories: public contracts, single contracts, and long-term contracts. Public contracts were open to all assassins. Whoever completed the hit first claimed the prize. They usually started in the millions. Single contracts also went to whoever accepted them first, more like app-based gigs. Once claimed, no one else could take them. Rewards ranged from tens to hundreds of thousands. Long-term contracts were different. They were dangerous, messy, low-paying jobs that no one wanted. Over time, they piled up into a category of their own. And those were exactly what Alex was eyeing. Scrolling through, he found one that looked promising. Type, long-term contract. Target, Lily Archer. Affiliation, liaison for the Camorra Syndicate. Bishop of St. Sim's Church. Bounty, $250,000. Time limit, 24 hours after acceptance. Location, St. Sim's Church, Harlem District. Updates every 30 minutes. Perfect. The target was a liaison for one of the high table's 12 families, the Camorra. The bounty was low, but the connections were high risk. No wonder it had been sitting unclaimed for so long. But now, it was his. Sliding the phone away, Alex turned to see his crew armed and suited up. He clapped once, smiling. "All right, everyone. We've got ourselves our first job." 30 minutes later. Harlem District. Alex led his group into a cafe directly across from St. Sim's Church. He checked his phone once more. The target was confirmed to still be inside. He handed the phone to Anna. She scanned the details, nodded, and strode toward the church. Although Alex trusted her abilities, he still waved 6 of the assassins to follow her inside. Then he took the remaining 4 and sat down by the cafe's front window. "Waiter. 12 lattes." When the coffees came, Alex stirred his with 2 spoons of sugar, occasionally glancing across the street. Moments later, gunfire erupted from inside the church. Bang, bang, bang. Rat-a-tat-tat. Screams and shattering glass filled the air. The chaos inside was undeniable. And yet, on the streets of Harlem, passers-by barely flinched, only quickening their steps when too near the church. They were used to it. A few minutes later, Anna emerged with the 6 assassins. She crossed the street with calm poise, brushing stray shell casings from her suit as they clattered against the asphalt. Clink, clink, clink. She stepped into the cafe, sat across from Alex, and exhaled softly. From her pocket, she pulled a wad of cash and 3 gold coins and handed them over along with his phone. "Mr. Cross, here's the loot from the church, $9,705 sand coins. The contract's confirmed. The $250,000 just hit the account. Good work. Take a rest." Alex pushed a steaming cup of coffee toward her while sliding the coins into his own pocket. Then, he turned to the 4 who had stayed behind. "Use the account balance. Buy 3 SUVs, plus a fresh batch of phones and computers." Rome, headquarters of the Camorra Syndicate. The news of Lily Archer's death reached here only 5 minutes after it happened. Inside a dimly lit chamber, Santino D'Antonio sat face-to-face with his sister, Gianna D'Antonio. Behind them stood their respective lieutenants, Cashin at Gianna's back and Ares at Santino's side. At this moment, a laptop was open before Santino, streaming surveillance footage from St. Simeon's Church in Harlem. The video showed a female assassin bursting inside, wielding a SIG Sauer P320. She didn't hesitate. 3 precise shots ended Lily Archer, the Camorra's church contact. The rest of the Camorra foot soldiers in the church drew their weapons, but the woman cut down 3 more by herself. Then, 6 assassins followed in behind her, eliminating everyone else. Only 5 minutes of footage, but it was enough to make Santino's blood pressure rise. Just a week earlier, Santino had dispatched his ace killer, Ares, to New York, working alongside Lily Archer. With her help, they had successfully executed a bounty on the local mafia's head in New York. Because of that, the Camorra Syndicate had managed to seize a chunk of mafia territory in just days. Of course, the mafia, being one of the high table's 12 seats, struck back swiftly, putting up bounties on both Lily and Ares. Lily's head carried a $250,000 price tag. Ares was worth $500,000. But no freelancers or high table affiliates wanted to wade into such a political crossfire. Both contracts lingered untouched for a week, downgraded into long-term bounties. That fact alone spoke volumes about the Camorra's recent rise in power. Yet, on the 7th day, an unknown female assassin had picked up Lily's contract and finished it. "Have you identified who this woman is?" Gianna asked calmly, lifting her gaze toward a family retainer. The man nodded and handed over 2 files, one for Santino, one for Gianna. Both siblings flipped them open and scanned the details. Santino's eyes turned cold. "Anna, a rookie bounty hunter dares to take on a Camorra contract? Call the New York branch immediately. Have them deal with her." A family subordinate was just about to make the call when Gianna's voice cut in. "Santino, I don't oversee New York, but I expect you to handle this cleanly. No mistakes. No mess." Without sparing her brother another glance, Gianna stood and left the room. Santino's face flushed red, his rage boiling after his sister's rebuke. Meanwhile, Midtown Manhattan. 3 brand-new Chevy Suburbans rolled in formation through the city streets. In the middle vehicle, Alex sat with a new model phone in hand, refreshing the bounty board. New York averaged 200 to 300 contracts per day, roughly one new bounty every 5 minutes. Unlike the legendary John Wick, who once eliminated over 100 in a day, most contracts only resulted in a few casualties. In a city of nearly 20 million, it was a drop in the ocean. Because of that, most single contracts were snatched up within seconds by the thousands of assassins hunting across the city. Securing a job required both speed and luck. Alex grumbled under his breath, "Damn, these days it's harder to land a kill than to snag a delivery app order." Fortunately, Anna and the others were also glued to their screens, hunting for openings. Within 20 minutes, Alex had locked down 2 single contracts. Contract type, single bounty, target, Terry Bradrick identity, owner of Fairplay Lending Company and the Fairplay Casino bounty, $400,000 deadline, 24 hours after acceptance location, Fairplay Lending Company, Uptown Manhattan, location updates in 30 minutes. Contract type, single bounty, target, Taro Inoue identity, owner of Yasui Sushi Bar, confirmed serial killer bounty, $170,000 deadline, 24 hours after acceptance location, Yasui Sushi Bar, Midtown Manhattan, location updates in 30 minutes. After reading both contracts, Alex made quick decisions. He, Anna, and 5 killers would head uptown to take down Terry Bradrick. The remaining 5 killers would handle Taro Inoue in Midtown. 5 p.m. Times Square. In the underground parking garage of the Intercontinental Hotel, 3 black SUVs rolled in. In the middle vehicle, Anna sat beside Alex, briefing him on the day's earnings. "Mr. Cross, today we took 5 contracts. Total bounty, $1.24 million. Loot value, $3.12 million, plus 41 Continental coins, 57 firearms, and 875 rounds of ammunition." Alex nodded, satisfied. Today's take far exceeded his expectations. The credit went to the job at Fairplay Lending Company in Uptown Manhattan. After Anna cleared the building, they raided the company's vault, finding $4 million in cash and 35 gold coins. Of course, the mission wasn't easy. 2 floors of the loan company, plus a basement casino guarded by over 30 armed men. Any average crew would have been slaughtered. Only with Anna leading the charge did they walk away victorious. That single job alone made Alex's day. So after that, he only picked up 2 smaller contracts before booking a suite at the Intercontinental. As the SUVs eased into their spaces, 8 killers from the flanking cars got out first. Alex reached for his door handle. Suddenly, a hail of gunfire erupted. Rat-a-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat-tat. Bullets tore through the air, riddling the brand-new SUVs with holes in seconds. Luckily, the assassins wore bulletproof suits. 2 were unlucky, one took a round through the hand, another across the face, but the rest were unharmed, though all of them cried out in pain from the impacts. Alex knew immediately, if they stayed pinned here, even the bulletproof suits wouldn't save them. A single grenade tossed into the cars, or one blast to the fuel tank, and they'd all be dead. His voice thundered across the garage, "Get back in the cars. Drive. Now." Obeying without hesitation, the killers scrambled back inside. The engines roared, tires screeched, and the SUVs surged forward like wild stallions bolting for freedom. More gunfire rained down, tat-tat-tat, tat-tat-tat, peppering the vehicles with hundreds of fresh holes. Some bullets tore through windows, but the assassins' armored suits absorbed the worst. Just as the convoy burst through the garage exit, headlights flared. Several cars waiting outside roared to life, giving chase. Inside Alex's SUV, Anna immediately pulled him into her arms, shielding his head from incoming fire. With her free hand, she fired back through the shattered rear window, squeezing off rounds at the pursuers. Pressed against her, Alex didn't waste time wondering who sent these attackers. Survival came first. His mind raced. He summoned the system mall. In an instant, he spent 30 Continental coins, purchasing Close Quarters Combat Level 3 and Advanced Self-Healing Level 3. New knowledge of brutal takedowns and grappling filled his mind. His muscles subtly shifted, burning the skills into muscle memory. At the same time, the pain across his body ebbed away. Then, with no hesitation, he spent 1 more coin to refresh the discount shop. The screen flashed, John Wick Character Experience Card ×1, consumable. Grants 10 minutes of John Wick's peak skills and instincts. Value, 1 coin, limited time 50% off. Talent recruitment scroll, blue, ×2, randomly recruits a skilled character from another film universe. Loyalty guaranteed. Value, 5 coins, 90% off. Skill copy card, purple, ×1, upon contact, copy one skill of level 4 or below from target. Value, 10 coins, 80% off. Assassin recruitment scroll, green, ×50, summons 50 mid-tier assassins with identical stats and absolute loyalty. Value, 15 coins, 85% off. Assassin training camp level 1, trains white-tier assassins into green tier. Duration, 48 hours. Max 10 per batch. Value, 30 coins, 99% off. Alex quickly calculated. That morning, Anna's first job netted them 5 coins. The later jobs brought in 41 more. He just spent 30 on skills, leaving 16 coins. Damn it. He muttered. Painful, but necessary. Without hesitation, he bought the John Wick experience card, the talent recruitment scroll, blue, and the skill copy card, purple. The ambush had just become a war. System. Use the skill copy card, copy Anna's firearms mastery level 4. Alex didn't hesitate. He pulled out the purple skill copy card and slapped it against Anna's thigh. The moment his voice fell, a flood of gun knowledge, firing stances, and advanced techniques rushed into his brain. When his eyes opened again, a razor-sharp glint flashed across them. At that instant, he felt as if he had just completed an elite assassin's training camp. Rat-a-tat. Rat-a-tat. Whiz. Whiz. Clang. 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 Gunfire roared. Bullets screamed past his ears. Metal rang out as rounds tore into the SUV's frame. Alex didn't lift his head. With the edge of his vision, he glimpsed chaos outside the shattered windows. Some drivers panicked and slammed on their brakes, causing small traffic jams. Others floored the accelerator, desperate to get clear of the firefight. And then there were New York's seasoned veterans of urban violence, calmly steering through as if nothing unusual was happening. In the other 2 SUVs, assassins leaned from windows and doors, firing bursts back at the pursuing vehicles. Alex exhaled sharply. He pulled a mid-tier weapons crate from his system inventory, snapping it open while scanning the streets. Spotting a narrow side road ahead, his voice cut through the gunfire. Turn right, take the alley. Then find a place to stop. As he spoke, he strapped the combat knife to his ankle, loaded a fresh mag into his pistol, and tucked it at his waist. The MP5K clicked as he chambered around, safety off, held firm in his grip. The driver yanked the wheel. The SUV clipped another car in the process, but still muscled into the side street. That was their chance. Alex pushed himself upright from Anna's embrace. He raised the MP5K through the shattered rear glass. Anna read him instantly, bringing her own MP5K up alongside. Seconds later, as the enemy vehicles barreled into the alley, rat-a-tat-tat-tat. Twin streams of fire lit the night, forcing the lead car to a dead halt. Alex glimpsed the crimson spray painting the windshield. He finally exhaled, then checked the other 2 SUVs. Both were a mess of dents and bullet holes. One had lost its front bumper. The other's trunk lid was bent upwards like a tin can. Damn it. Alex cursed. We just bought these tonight, and they're already scrap metal. His jaw tightened. His eyes went cold as steel. Whoever set this up, when I'm done here, they're going to pay. The convoy skidded to a stop outside a derelict building. Tires screeched, brakes wailed. Anna leapt out first, sprinting to the entrance. Bang! Bang! 2 quick shots blew out the locks. A hard kick sent the doors crashing open. The assassins hustled Alex inside, covering him with disciplined precision. They didn't stop running until they reached the 4th floor. There, Alex turned to take stock. Of his 10 men, only 2 were unscathed. One assassin's cheek had been torn open by a grazing round, blood pouring steadily. 2 more clutched their ribs where bullets had smashed against their armored suits, likely fracturing bones. Alex frowned, lowering his voice with commanding precision. Wounded go upstairs, stick together, patch each other up, and stay sharp. Unhurt, form fire teams, find cover, and prepare for combat. Then he turned to Anna. MP5K in one hand, he flashed simple hand signals with the other. Free fire. No survivors. Screech. Brakes wailed outside the building. The killers tensed. Alex pressed against the fourth-floor corridor corner. Across the hall, Anna mirrored him, setting up a crossfire. Step. 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 Boots thundered on the stairwell, rushing upward. Louder, closer. As the footsteps reached the fourth floor, Alex whispered inside his mind, "System. Activate the John Wick experience card." In an instant, he felt it. Death itself slid into his skin. His senses sharpened to a razor's edge. Every sound angle, every muzzle rise, every trigger pull, he knew it all with chilling precision. Tap. A heel hit concrete. Alex's ear twitched. Instinct calculated instantly. Left stairwell, 3 meters, standing posture. He swung the MP5 up. Bang. 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 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. The attacker collapsed before he even realized he was dead. The gunfire was the signal. A dozen more weapons roared from every direction. Bullets shredded walls and ceiling. Alex dropped, yanking his armored suit over his head to shield from the worst. Rolling, he leapt into position beside Anna. They locked eyes for the briefest second, then rose together, back to back. Their weapons spoke as one. Bullets flew like guided blades, mercilessly cutting down every enemy that dared step into their kill zone. Bang. Bang. 2 quick shots. Alex dropped the assassin in front of him, using the corpse as a shield to soak up the incoming rounds. The ballistic suit absorbed most of it, but the pain was still sharp, still real, far from pleasant. He shifted sideways, returned fire to the left, and felt the enemy pressure slacken. Judging from the silence that followed, those shots must have hit home. Without hesitation, he shoved the unlucky corpse aside and advanced, eyes locked on the enemy's last firing point. A few clean finishers, and the threat was gone. Half-crouched, Alex reached for a fallen pistol to stash his backup, but a burly man lunged from the side, tackling him to the floor. An elbow drove for Alex's throat while the man's other hand crushed down on his gun arm. Alex reacted instantly. His left hand shot up to guard his neck while his wrist angled just enough to squeeze off a round. Bang! The bullet grazed across the man's back. Arg! The pain ripped a scream from him, his strength evaporating in an instant. But footsteps thundered closer from the corridor. More enemies. Alex froze his attempt to rise, keeping his body locked in the struggle. Flat on the ground, he fired blindly toward the approaching sounds. Bang! 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 Screams followed. When his mag clicked empty, Alex kicked the groaning brute off him, snatched another pistol from the floor, and ended the man's misery with a clean shot to the head. Holstering it at his waist, he reloaded his own sidearm and stalked toward the fresh bodies, putting precise bullets into each. No survivors. On the other side of the hall, Anna was even deadlier. 3 shots, 3 chest hits. She pivoted behind cover, snapping off rounds that dropped 2 more assassins creeping up the flank. Just as she shifted position, a killer rushed her. His strike knocked her pistol away. But Anna didn't flinch. Her leg swept up as her hand flashed down to her boot, drawing her knife in one fluid motion. 5 rapid thrusts sank into his kidney. Ugh! The Mun staggered back, clutching his side. Anna stripped his waist holster clean and put a round through his skull. Then she spun and emptied the clip into the next wave. Bang! 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 When the mag clicked dry, she hurled the weapon like a brick, cracking the last man across the temple, before diving for her own pistol on the floor. One smooth shot finished him. Only then did she fall back, swapping mags as she regrouped with Alex. Both were heaving breaths, but steady. Together, they had cut down over 20 men. The building echoed with silence now, only the rare stray shot ringing in the distance. They followed the trail of gunfire, reuniting with their own squad. With their help, the last stragglers were eliminated. The building grew still. After a long wait, no new attackers came. 2 upstairs, bring down the bodies, Alex ordered. The rest, check everything. If anyone's alive, finish them. Search their gear for insignias, tokens, and proof of who they serve. The killers obeyed without hesitation, fanning out. Alex leaned against the wall, holstering his pistol. Exhaustion weighed heavy, and for the first time since the ambush began, he allowed himself to breathe. Relief, and a shadow of dread. Anna, by contrast, looked fresh. She even smirked, giving him a playful thumbs up. "Mr. Cross, I didn't expect you to be this strong." Alex chuckled, not bothering to explain. Yet. Rome. Camorra Family headquarters. It was dinner time. Santino D'Antonio and his sister Gianna sat across from each other at a candlelit table, savoring fine steak and wine. A Camorra foot soldier hurried in. He bowed to Gianna, then bent to Santino's ear and whispered rapidly. Clang. The knife slammed down against the table. The sound made Gianna pause mid-bite. She chewed delicately, swallowed, and asked, "My dear brother, what has you in such a fury?" Santino didn't answer. His eyes glinted with cold fury as he stabbed another piece of steak and shoved it in his mouth, pretending to be calm. But the facade crumbled. He threw his fork aside and stormed out without another word. Gianna didn't stop him. She merely crooked a finger, summoning the messenger closer. What happened? The soldier spoke plainly. The New York branch sent 30 men after that female assassin named Anna. Every single one is dead. Even Gianna's composure cracked. Shock flared across her eyes before she masked it again. At last, she exhaled slowly. My foolish brother, it seems he's provoked a far stronger enemy than he realizes. Mr. Cross, the strike team numbered 30 in total. Every one of them bore the Camorra family insignia. About 10 minutes later, a killer returned from searching the bodies. As he reported, he placed a small pouch of coins on the table. In addition, we recovered 47 gold coins from the corpses. The cash is still being counted. I see. The moment Alex heard Camorra Family, everything clicked. Anna's first hit that morning had been one of their New York liaisons. He narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing in them. He had taken contracts and honored the rules of the high table. Yet the Camorra, one of the 12 seats, had skipped the bounty system entirely, sending enforcers to deal with him directly. It wasn't technically breaking the laws, but it reeked of arrogance and intimidation. That was fine. Alex wasn't afraid. The grudge was sealed, and there'd be no sweeping it under the rug. He looked at the waiting assassin. Take men to the front. From the cars those bastards drove in, pick 3 that are still in decent condition. We move for the Continental in 5 minutes. Yes, Mr. Cross. The men left at once. Rome. Camorra Family headquarters. Gianna D'Antonio found her brother in the study. Santino stood by the window, cigarette in hand, his rage from dinner cooled but not gone. My dear brother, she said, voice calm, because of your decision, 30 men from New York are dead. What exactly is your plan now? Her words dragged Santino back to the present. He crushed the cigarette, turned toward her, and said coldly, I will handle it. You needn't worry. Is that so? Gianna smiled faintly, unconvinced, and turned toward the door. At the threshold, she paused. My advice is to send Ares. I can even release Cashin to join her, but if you have your own plans, I won't interfere. Then she left. Santino's gaze shifted to Ares. The mute assassin signed quickly, Send me. I'll finish it. But Santino shook his head. Instead, he picked up the phone and dialed a number known only to the 12 seats, the high table's communications hub. This is the switchboard. Which department do you require? A woman's voice asked. Bounty Center. One moment. A beat later, this is the Bounty Center. How can we assist? I want to place a contract. On whom? Anna Poliatova. Verification code. 930-05, contract type. Single. Payout. $700,000. Understood. Processing now. Please hold. Moments later, the hit was confirmed, a single target contract on Anna Poliatova for $700,000. New York. On the road to the Continental, Alex sat back in the car, eyes closed, trying to rest. His phone buzzed. A new message flashed across the screen. Contract type, single. Target, Anna Poliatova. Status, bounty hunter. Reward, $700,000. Time limit, 24 hours from acceptance. Location, Midtown Manhattan, 34th Street. Updates every 30 minutes. Alex had barely finished reading when the contract vanished, already claimed. No need to guess who had placed it. Only the Camorra family had the reach to move this fast. His side had just survived one wave of assassins, and the next strike was already in motion. That was the weight of a 12-seat family's influence. He wasn't surprised. If their positions were reversed, he'd do the same, maybe worse. Turning his head, he caught Anna's eye. She'd seen the contract too, but her expression was calm and dismissive. Unless John Wick or Kane himself took the job, she wasn't concerned. Still, Alex leaned toward the driver. Step on it. Get us to the Continental. Fast. If the Camorra were making their move again, then it was only right for them to answer in kind. Barely 10 minutes later, the convoy reached the Continental Hotel without incident. Along the way, one lone assassin on a motorcycle tailed them for a short while. But the moment he saw the size of the convoy, he wisely pulled away. Clearly, that was the poor soul who had accepted the single target bounty on Anna. Alex didn't bother. Small fry like that, if he really had the death wish to charge in, would just be erased. The cars slowed to the curb. After parking, Alex led Anna and one of his men into the Continental. As always, Sharon stood behind the front desk, wearing his courteous smile. Welcome to the Continental. What service may we provide tonight? Clink. Just like last time, a gold coin was placed on the counter. But unlike before, Alex wasn't here for a room. I'd like to meet with the manager, Mr. Winston. Sharon hesitated, hand hovering over the coin before withdrawing. Mr. Winston is a very busy man. I don't believe he has time for meetings. Alex only smiled faintly. Mr. Sharon, all I'm asking is that you make the call. That's all. Sharon studied him for a moment, then finally picked up the desk phone. A brief exchange later, he hung up and gestured toward the bar. Mr. Cross. Ms. Poliatova. Mr. Winston is expecting you there. Thank you. Alex nodded politely, then led Anna swiftly toward the bar. Inside, a sweep of the room found Winston exactly where Alex expected. In the corner booth, a martini in hand, eyes carrying that same amused, calculating depth as in the films, half smile, half challenge. Alex didn't waste time. The moment he sat down across from him, he spoke plainly. Mr. Winston, I need the contact information for John Wick and Kane. The words hung in the air, unanswered. Winston peered over his glasses, regarding Alex and Anna with quiet interest. Only after a long pause did he sip his martini and reply, voice calm and deliberate. Jonathan is not someone one simply meets. Even after Anna's remarkable display today, I doubt she could truly be considered his match. Alex nearly groaned inwardly. The old fox had it wrong. He thought Alex wanted to challenge John Wick. Ridiculous. Alex knew well he wasn't on that level yet, and he had no intention of picking a fight with the Baba Yaga. Mr. Winston, you misunderstand. That's not why I seek them. Winston's expression softened slightly at the clarification, though he still made no promise of help. Alex understood perfectly. No one would risk offending one of the 12 seats, the Camorra family, for the sake of two relative newcomers. That was fine. Winston had simply been the easiest route. There were other ways to find John Wick and Kane. After a few more pleasantries, Alex rose to leave. At the door, he paused, watching Winston lift his martini again, and asked one last question. Tell me, Mr. Winston, if you had to describe the Camorra family as an animal, would you choose a lion, tiger, leopard, or jackal? Winston drifted into thought. Alex smiled faintly and turned away. For now, the next step was clear. Find a guide, and buy the information directly. Mr. Cross. Just as he was about to send one of his men to track down a guide, a voice called from behind the bar. Addie, the bartender, was motioning him back toward Winston. At the same time, she slid a glass of whiskey across the counter. This is from Mr. Winston. Alex lifted the glass. Beneath it, pressed under the base, was a folded note. He read it and then couldn't help but smile. Raising the whiskey toward Winston across the room, the two men clinked glasses silently from afar. Alex downed it in a single swallow. Setting the empty glass back on the bar, he told Addie with a hint of steel in his voice, "Please let Mr. Winston know. Even for the high table, the law of the jungle still applies. Lions, tigers, leopards, jackals, break their teeth, blunt their claws, and they're nothing more than kittens." With that, he turned and left the bar. Outside, his man asked, "Mr. Cross, where to next?" Alex kept walking, a smile tugging at his lips. "Of course, we go pay a visit to the legend himself, John Wick." The convoy left Manhattan, rolled across the Brooklyn Bridge, and headed north into upstate New York, Oswego County. Not long after, the car slowed to a stop. In Alex's line of sight stood a familiar little house straight out of the films. So this is it. Wick bought this place even before he met his wife. He stepped out, taking in the modest home. Alex had to admit, John Wick had good taste. After a quiet moment, he gestured. One of his men walked up and knocked. Thump, thump, thump. The door opened. And there he was. John Wick. Black suit, one hand hidden behind his back, the other gripping the doorknob with quiet tension. Following Alex's instructions, the killer at the door exchanged a few words with him, then returned. "Mr. Cross, he says he's not interested." Alex glanced up at the man about to shut the door. His voice rang out, clear and direct, "Mr. Wick, $2 million. Until this time tomorrow. You don't have to fire a single shot or lift a single finger. All I need is your presence." At his signal, two men hauled twin metal cases out of the trunk and dropped them open on the ground, cash, stacked high. John's hand froze on the door. His eyes fell to the money. Then, without a word, he opened the door wider, stepped out, lifted both cases, and carried them inside. Moments later, he re-emerged and slid silently into the back seat of Alex's car. As expected. Before Helen, John Wick answered to one master, money. The convoy turned back toward New York City. Inside, the silence was heavy. John sat in the passenger seat, expression calm, gaze fixed out the window. A man of few words. Alex didn't bother with pleasantries. Between them there was no friendship, only business. His purpose was simple: tie John Wick to his side and later bring in Kane as well. If both legends were sitting with him, then neither could be hired by the Camorra. Because with Alex's current power, either man could end him without effort. But he had confidence. Someday, he believed, John Wick would kneel before him and swear loyalty. That thought steadied his mind. He looked at Wick's back for a moment, then turned inward, pulling up his system interface. System backpack, 5 slots, for already occupied. Discount voucher ×1, talent recruitment scroll, blue, ×2, bulletproof suit ×8, intermediate weapon crate ×38, he checked the marketplace. Only 2 discount items remained unpurchased. Assassin recruitment scroll, green, ×50, 15 coins, assassin training camp level 1, 30 coins given the current crisis. Alex pulled out the discount voucher and slipped it into his pocket. Then he spent 45 coins to buy both items outright. After that, like a gambler chasing luck, he whispered, "System, spend 1 coin to refresh the discount shop." The screen shifted. He spent another. A fresh set of offers appeared, bulletproof suit ×50, Kevlar weave, from 5 years into the John Wick world's future. Auto-fit on first wear. Value, 2 coins, special 80% discount. Physique recovery serum ×1, restores body to peak condition instantly. Effects vary by user. Value, 5 coins, special 50% discount. Strength elixir, green, ×1, increases muscle density, minor boost in raw strength. Value, 10 coins, special 70% discount. Assassin recruitment scroll, white, ×100, summons 100 basic assassins, no talents, uniform abilities. Value, 20 coins, special 80% discount. Assassin recruitment scroll, gold, ×1, summons a gold rank assassin from another film world, absolute loyalty guaranteed. Value, 100 coins, special 90% discount. Yes. The instant Alex saw the gold scroll, he couldn't help but shout aloud. Excitement broke through the silence of the car. Anna smiled at his sudden joy, almost glowing with his energy. Only John Wick shifted his gaze, briefly, a glance in Alex's direction. Then he turned back to the window. But on the glass, in the faint reflection, the corner of John Wick's mouth had curved ever so slightly upward. Manhattan. Uptown. Harlem. St. Sim's Church. The convoy circled back here. The church was closed, its doors locked. Cars pulled up along the curb. Alex Cross stepped out with Anna and a handful of uninjured killers. John Wick got out as well. Anna walked ahead. Bang. Bang. 2 shots, clean and precise, shattering the locks. They entered the church. The bodies had already been cleared away. The blood scrubbed from the floor. Only the splintered chairs and bullet-pocked walls bore witness to the firefight that had erupted here not long ago. Take out every camera inside. A sharp command. Gunfire echoed. Hidden security cameras in the corners dropped one by one, sparking as they hit the floor. But the noise triggered a reaction. From the rear of the church came a priest, flanked by over a dozen armed Camorra killers. The priest clutched a sawed-off shotgun, his voice heavy with rage. "Who are you people?" Before he could finish, one of the killers yanked at his robes, his face pale with fury. He pointed straight at Anna, voice cracking between fear and hate. "It's her. The woman who killed Lily Archer, and butchered so many of our Camorra brothers. You'll pay for that." He pulled the trigger, but Anna and the others didn't give him the chance. Bang. 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 Gunfire roared. Seconds later, every Camorra soldier lay dead on the church floor. Only the priest remained, kneeling, hands shot through, trembling in agony. Alex stepped past the corpses, his eyes on the broken figure. Then he looked up at the statue of Christ, made the sign of the cross over his chest, and muttered a prayer, mock solemn. When it ended, he grabbed the priest by the collar and, with a polite glance at John Wick, said, "Mr. Wick, I have some private business to take care of. If you don't mind, perhaps you could rest here. Maybe say a prayer to God." "Yeah." That single word was all Wick offered. He quietly found a seat, closed his eyes, and seemed to begin his own prayer. Alex left a few men inside, then dragged the priest with Anna into the back courtyard. The courtyard was no garden. It was an armory. A few cars parked under a shed and an entire wall of weapons. Anna shot out the cameras. Only then did Alex throw the priest to the ground. "Don't kill me." The priest begged, clinging to the floor. Alex ignored it. He picked a pistol from the rack, loaded a round, flicked off the safety, and pressed the barrel to the priest's forehead. "I need the Camorra's New York division, everything. Addresses, numbers, structure. I can't, if I talk, they'll kill me." The trembling reply fell flat. Bang. A bullet slammed into his knee. The priest screamed, collapsing in agony. Alex sneered. "That's not the answer I asked for." Terrified, the priest clutched his bleeding leg and pointed shakily toward the weapons wall. Behind the middle panel, a safe. "Code is 3319. Everything you want is inside. Please, spare me." Anna quickly found it, punched in the code, and pulled it open. Stacks of gold coins, a bundle of documents, and cash. When she finished scanning the files, she gave Alex a nod. Alex turned back to the priest, smiling faintly. "Tell me, Father, do you truly believe in God?" The priest's lips trembled. He dared not answer. But Alex didn't wait for one. "Then let me show you a miracle." With a flick of his wrist, 50 green assassin recruitment scrolls appeared in his hand. A thought, and they dissolved into glowing motes. One by one, 50 assassins materialized across the courtyard. The priest's eyes bulged. His voice cracked, raw with terror. "No. Impossible, only God can do such things, heh." Alex chuckled coldly, raising his gun once more. "Then, Father, let me send you to meet him." Bang. The shot rang out. The priest crumpled, lifeless. His eyes remained wide open, filled with incomprehension and despair even in death. Alex gestured with his hand. Two killers dragged away the priest's corpse. Then he turned and walked up to the safe. He emptied all the gold coins inside. Glancing at his system panel, sand coins, 27, without hesitation, he opened the system store. Bulletproof suits times 50. 2 gold coins, bought. Physical recovery serum times 1. 5 gold coins, bought. Killer recruitment scroll, white, times 100. 20 gold coins, bought as well. At this point, the only discounted item left was strength potion. Closing the system, Alex first handed the physical recovery serum to Anna. He didn't need it himself. Maybe it could restore Anna's body to peak condition. One day she might even reach gold rank. After that, Alex pulled out 38 intermediate weapon crates and 50 bulletproof suits from his inventory. He ordered his men to haul in all the captured weapons from the cars. Soon, a fully equipped 50-man assassin squad in bulletproof suits with mid-tier weapons stood lined up neatly in the church courtyard. As usual, Alex inspected one of their attributes. Name: Petty Jacobs, age, 27, height, 173 centimeters, skills, fluent English level 4, stealth and disguise level 2, close combat level 2, firearms mastery level 2, driving level 2, talent, none, evaluation, a cornerstone level assassin, easily able to deal with several low-tier killers. Overall, their strength had risen a full tier. At least they weren't going to do anything stupid like poking their heads out of cover while wearing body armor. This squad would be the main force for tonight's operation. After tonight, there would be no more Camorra Family in New York. Of course, before that, there were still a few summoning scrolls he had to use. 2 blue talent recruitment scrolls and 1 gold killer recruitment scroll. Looking at the 3 scrolls in his hand, Alex felt a surge of excitement. But he stayed decisive, silently commanding, "System, use the talent and killer recruitment scrolls." In the next second, 2 blue, 1 gold. 3 beams of light flashed. 3 figures appeared before Alex. 2 women and 1 man. Name: Susie Glass, age, 27, height, 168 centimeters, skills, fluent English level 4, fluent Russian level 3, close combat level 1, firearms level 2, driving level 2, talents, operations management level 4, command presence level 3, weakness. Her status as a leader figure makes her poor at actual combat. Name: Margarita, age, 28, height, 175 centimeters, skills, fluent English level 3, fluent Russian level 4, close combat level 3, firearms level 3, driving level 2, talents, arms smuggling level 4, equipment supply level 3, evaluation, poor at threat assessment, prefers smuggling over combat. Neither were professional assassins, but both were key characters in their respective films. One from the TV series The Gentleman. The other from Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. To Alex, both were extremely useful for his upcoming plans. But what truly thrilled Alex was the quiet man standing in the courtyard, so subdued he almost blended into the background. Name: Alexander Duggan, codename The Jackal, age, 35, height, 184 centimeters, skills, fluent English level 5, fluent Russian level 5, stealth and disguise level 5, close combat level 5, firearms mastery level 5, driving level 5, hacking level 5, talents, firearms affinity level 5, reflexes level 5, flaw. His only flaw is that after finishing a contract, if the client refuses payment, he tends to kill the employer as well. A top-tier sniper. Capable of firing from 3.5 kilometers away, pulling the trigger 7 seconds ahead of impact, and still landing a perfect kill. Mr. Cross. The 3 recruits spoke in unison, bowing respectfully before him. Alex nodded, handing each of them a bulletproof suit and signaling them to get changed. Duggan didn't bother with modesty. He stripped and changed on the spot, quick and efficient. Before Alex could even speak, he strode over to the weapons cache, selecting a Beretta 92F pistol, a combat knife, and a TAC-50 sniper rifle. He loaded and chambered them swiftly. By the time Susie Glass and Margarita finished dressing and walked over, Duggan was already fully geared up and combat ready. Alex motioned for Anna to pass over the Camorra intel. Duggan glanced through it quickly, then returned the documents and asked one simple question: "Mr. Cross, when do we move?" Alex's lips curled into a cold smile. Half an hour from now. New York time. 21:45. The back gate of Sims Church's courtyard opened. A lone figure rode out on a motorcycle, quickly vanishing into the night. Moments later, the gate closed again, as if nothing had happened. 5 minutes later, the gate opened once more. This time, one car after another rolled out. Through the windows, it was clear, every seat was filled, each car at capacity. The convoy moved fast. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from sight. Santos Club. A wildly popular entertainment venue in uptown Manhattan. It had 3 levels: basement, training rooms for combat and firearms, tactical chambers, an armory, and a long corridor connecting directly to the underground parking garage. First floor, a deafening party, blaring music, pounding DJ beats, and a dance floor full of chaos, covering up all the sounds below. Second floor, private lounges for the wealthy, shielded with soundproof glass. So private, in fact, that regulars nicknamed them pleasure rooms. At the far end sat an office, serving as the Camorra family's local headquarters. But that wasn't the full picture. Through the kitchen at the back, a hidden door led straight into the kitchen of the Sully Hotel next door. That's right, the club and hotel were connected. Every Camorra hitman arriving in New York rested and received assignments there. The priest's documents had marked all of this out in detail. 21:58. The convoy pulled onto Santos Avenue. 50 meters ahead, the front entrance to Santos Club. The convoy split. 3 cars accelerated past the club, pulling up on the opposite side of the street. The other 4 cars carried on. At the red light, they turned, heading down into the Sully Hotel's underground garage. Mr. Cross, we've reached the hotel garage. Anna's voice came through the earpiece. Alex lifted his wrist and checked the time. 2200 hours sharp. No hesitation. He spoke clearly into the comms. Move. At once, the doors of 6 cars swung open in unison. Centered on the Santos Club entrance, 2 teams of 15 killers each surged forward in formation, sweeping in from both flanks. 40 meters. 35. At 30 meters, the club guards finally sensed something was wrong. One reached for his earpiece to sound the alarm. Crack. A bullet drilled perfectly into his forehead, leaving a neat round hole. The other turned, gun half drawn, rushing for the doors. Crack. Another round smashed through the back of his skull, his body crashing to the ground lifeless. Only then did Alex step out of the car. Beside him, Susie Glass, Margarita, and John Wick. Susie held a pistol in one hand and the club dossier in the other. Margarita was far more professional, submachine gun raised, scanning her surroundings with sharp precision. And then there was John Wick. The man didn't even flinch. Hand tucked inside his suit jacket, posture relaxed as ever, he looked as though none of this mattered to him. As for Alex, he wasn't nervous at all. Not with the Baba Yaga himself standing at his side. And besides, 10 minutes earlier, Duggan had already set up nearby with his sniper rifle. Any threat to Alex's safety would be erased before it even reached him. The 2 assault squads reached the doors. Left and right. They breached in tandem. Rat-tat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat-tat. The rhythmic chatter of Heckler and Koch MP5KS spilled out from inside the club. Within moments, chaos erupted. Partygoers stampeded out, hands over their ears, scrambling in every direction. Alex stood still, watching, waiting. Only when no one else came running out did he stride toward the entrance. The instant he crossed the threshold, Duggan's calm voice buzzed through the earpiece. Mr. Cross, I've only got line of sight on your right. Stick close to the right-hand windows as you move. A faint gunshot cracked in the background. 2 seconds later, on the second floor near the stairs, a Camorra gunman had just stood to take aim. A single round punched through his skull. His corpse tumbled down the staircase with a heavy thud. Duggan's voice came again, steady as ever. Mr. Cross, your right flank is clear. Recommend you assign a few men to cover your left blind spot. Damn. Alex couldn't help but grin. In just the short time since stepping inside, he'd already experienced the precision of a top-tier assassin. Right then, he felt an urge to sling an arm around Duggan's shoulder and shout, "See that? Now this is what I call professional." Rat-tat-tat. Crack. Bang bang. Inside Santos Club, bullets tore through the air. 30 killers had stormed the building, immediately splitting into 6 squads. Methodical, disciplined, they swept the premises floor by floor. The first and second floors didn't hold many enemies, barely more than a dozen. These weren't elites, just security muscle tasked with maintaining order. Their weapons were basic handguns at best. And with Duggan's top-tier sniping covering them from outside, the mop-up was brutal. In less than 2 minutes, the club was cleared, save for 2 or 3 terrified stragglers hiding in blind spots, shivering, clinging to their pistols in pointless defiance. 1 squad stayed behind to finish them off. The remaining 5 split by plan. 2 squads swept into the kitchen, neutralizing the chefs, taking cover, and aiming at the alley door. The second that Sully Hotel's kitchen door opened, they'd unleash hell. 2 more squads locked down the stairwell to the basement, positioning in a crossfire formation. The instant anyone showed their head, dead. The last squad secured the club's main entrance. First floor, right side lounge. Alex Cross, John Wick, Susie Glass, and Margarita sat at a windowside table. Wick, ever nonchalant, reached across the table, picked up a bottle, and poured himself a glass of liquor. He sipped leisurely, as if he were simply enjoying the night. Bang! Rat-tat. Occasional shots echoed from the second floor, the last futile resistance of Camorra survivors. The only reply they received was more gunfire. Susie reported quickly, as of now, the Camorra's New York branch should still have around 120 to 180 men active. Expect the first counterattack from the kitchen and basement in about 1 minute. Her timing was precise. Across the street of the Sully Hotel, the front desk had already begun waking every Camorra operative via room phones. Meanwhile, on the basement training level, duty squads had armed up and were on their way toward the club. Alex remained calm, doing the math in his head. Then he turned to John Wick. "Mr. Wick, in about 1 minute your phone will buzz with 2 open contracts. 1 for Anna, and 1 for me." Wick finally spoke something other than yeah. "Is that so?" Alex smiled faintly. "The good news is, right now, I'm your employer. And until our contract ends, you can't lay a hand on me or my people." Meanwhile, Rome. Camorra Family headquarters. Because of the time difference, it was already 1 a.m. Santino lay sprawled across a velvet bed, 2 women in his arms, lost in sweet dreams. In his dream, his father was dead, his sister was pushed aside, and he had claimed a seat among the high tables 12. As he imagined himself climbing even further, to the title of Marquis, ring ring ring. The shrill phone shattered his fantasy. Santino shoved the women aside, sat up, and answered. "You bastard. What the hell have you done? Why is our New York branch under attack?" The voice on the other end thundered with fury, making Santino's skull ring. He dared not protest. Because the voice belonged to his father. "Father. Shut up." Just a single bark silenced him. Santino froze, lips sealed tight, not daring to breathe wrong. "This mess is yours to clean. I don't care what you have to do, but you will secure the New York branch. And remember this, do not violate the high table's rules." The line cut off before Santino could respond. Click. Bang bang bang. Knocks at the door jolted him. He rushed over and pulled it open. Aries stood there. Silent. She shoved a tablet into his hands. 2 clips played. In the first, a swarm of suited killers stormed Santos Club. Seconds later, the feed went dark as cameras were shot out. In the second, 4 cars rolled into Sully Hotel's underground garage. Their occupants exited, and again, cameras cut almost immediately. Aries signed swiftly. "This is surveillance from New York. Reliable intel says the attack was led by that female assassin, Anna. She has a boss, Alex Cross." Santino's face darkened. Rage overtook him. He hurled the tablet to the floor, his complexion flushing dark red. He stormed to the nightstand and yanked out a pistol. Bang. Bang. 2 shots. The woman in bed slumped lifelessly. Breathing hard, Santino forced his anger into words. "I want an open contract placed. On Anna. And on Alex Cross. I'll have every killer in New York hunting them down." New York. Santos Club. The first wave of battle erupted. Basement stairwell. Over 20 Camorra killers burst through the door, boots pounding the steps as they charged upward. The man in front gripped a pistol in his right hand and a grenade in his left. The instant he saw enemies, he would lob the grenade, clearing a path for those behind him. But fate had other plans. As he reached the top of the stairs, grenade raised high, crack. A spinning bullet punched straight through his skull. Thud. 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 The grenade slipped from his hand, clattering down the steps. The killers behind him didn't even have time to retreat back to the basement. Behind them, more men were pushing forward, blocking any escape. Oh, shit. Damn it. Those were the last words they managed to scream. Boom. The grenade exploded. The stairwell became a storm of shredded flesh and blood. Meanwhile, in the Salisbury Hotel kitchen, another 20-plus Camorra killers, armed to the teeth and armored in Kevlar, steadied themselves. The first man flung the door open toward the alley. Go! 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 The next second, rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Bullets poured into them like rain. The first two men collapsed instantly, their bodies riddled with holes. Even body armor couldn't save them. Their corpses provided momentary cover for those behind, who surged forward toward the club's back entrance. But the bottleneck, that narrow, one-man-wide doorway, had become the gates of hell. Alex's men, each with at least level 2 marksmanship, didn't miss. Every Camorra soldier who tried to cross that threshold was cut down mercilessly. The alley between the two kitchens became a slaughterhouse. With the first wave of bloodshed, the open contracts Alex had predicted went live. In the corner where the four of them sat, Alex's phone chimed. Ding. You have a new kill me order. Please accept promptly. It was a dark little joke Alex had set up earlier that day, with Anna's help. Whenever a bounty contract went out, the ringtone would announce it. The sound, cutting through bursts of gunfire, felt strangely out of place, adding a layer of dark humor to the tension. Even John Wick, ever stone-faced, nearly spat out his drink when played. Setting his glass down, Wick pulled out his own phone. 2 contracts lit up his screen. Type, open contract, target, Anna Poliatova identity, assassin reward, $2 million time limit, 24 hours location, Salisbury Hotel underground garage, live updates. Type, open contract, target, Alex Cross. Identity, assassin reward, $2 million. Time limit, 24 hours location, Santos Club, live updates. Exactly as Alex had said. Wick's expression flickered, glancing at Alex. Setting his phone down, he actually cracked a joke. To be honest, it's almost a shame. Part of me regrets taking your contract. Alex smirked, pouring himself a drink. Mr. Wick, in this world there's no such thing as regret pills. Wick leaned back, his eyes sharp, voice heavier than before. Tell me, Mr. Cross, how did you know the Camorra would issue open contracts on you and Anna? This time, Wick wasn't the silent boogeyman. His eyes studied Alex closely. This man was shrewd, ruthless, and decisive, yet with an almost childish streak at odd times. At first, Wick had viewed him as a forgettable client. Now, he classified Alex as a dangerous man, one better to work with than against. Alex sipped his drink, then countered with a question. If you were the head of the Camorra, and your branch overseas was under siege, what else could you do but this? Yeah. Wick nodded. He understood. But Alex wasn't finished. Then let's make another bold guess. When they realize every assassin in New York still can't save their branch, what do you think they'll do next? New York. The Continental Hotel. Winston had returned to his suite. From his pocket, his phone buzzed. The old man slipped on his reading glasses, unlocked the screen, and glanced at the messages. Type, open contract, target, Anna Bariadova. Type, open contract, target, Alex Cross. Both carried a bounty of $2 million. Winston exhaled, a long, thoughtful sigh. What a madman. The future of New York is about to get very turbulent. Downstairs, Sharon at the front desk stared at the same notification on his phone. He said nothing. But in his eyes, there was regret. It was clear, he didn't believe Anna or Alex could possibly survive with open contracts set on their heads. Not against every assassin in New York. At the same moment, across the city, in alleys and avenues, under the night sky, ordinary passersby's phones chimed. And one by one, they bared their fangs. The street performer silently packed up his props, reaching into his case for a pistol. A busboy washing dishes in a noodle shop dropped his plates, took a drag from his cigarette, and pulled a submachine gun from under the counter. Cabbies, night shift security guards, homeless beggars. Within minutes, nearly 100 people had abandoned their disguises. Faces lit with hunger, knuckles cracking, eyes gleaming. All of them turned, almost in unison, toward the Santos Club. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Inside the club, the firefight raged on. The longer it dragged, the more the Camorra's numerical advantage began to show. In the kitchen, wave after wave of killers pressed forward from the hotel's rear. Climbing over the bodies of their own comrades, they carved out a foothold. At the cost of 20 lives, they finally forced their way into the club's kitchen. Of course, the only reason they'd gotten that far was because Alex hadn't ordered his squads to hold to the death. If he had, the position would still be impregnable, even if it meant sacrificing a handful of men. But Alex didn't need to defend the club itself. So why waste good soldiers? His 2 kitchen squads pulled back to the front kitchen door, forming a second defensive line. Casualties, none dead, just a few grazes. At the basement stairwell, the defense was almost effortless. The Camorra had tried everything: flashbangs, stun grenades, and smoke. But the problem wasn't the squads at the stairs. It was Duggan. Every shot from the top-tier marksman was a kill, clean and precise. Compared to the other fronts, these squads had it easy. Salisbury Hotel. Underground parking garage. 30 killers, divided into 6 squads. 2 squads held the parking entrance. 2 more locked down the elevators and stairwells. The last 2 squads were with Anna, waiting behind the heavy door that led to the underground passage. This passage connected directly to the Santos Club's basement, a training facility hidden between the 2 buildings. Every killer waited in silence. From beyond, gunfire rolled like thunder, announcing how fierce the fight was inside the club. Anna checked her watch. 22:05, only 5 minutes since the operation began. Anna. Susie's voice crackled through the earpiece into everyone's comms. Second-floor resistance at the club has been wiped out. 5th squad is heading for the hotel's main entrance. Expect your side to get hit in the next 30 seconds. The killers tensed. Time ticked. 15 seconds gone. From the stairwell, step, step, step. A dozen footfalls, with low voices in between. Be ready, that Anna woman's here, with a squad. Kill them all. The steps drew closer. Ding. Elevator doors slid open at the same time. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Gunfire erupted. Anna's squads opened up, pouring bullets without mercy. Blood painted the stairwell and elevator lobbies. Creak. The heavy underground passage door groaned open. A burly Camorra soldier stepped through, an RPG perched on his shoulder. He aimed it at the 2 squads pouring fire. Just as his finger tightened on the trigger, crack! A single round smashed through his skull. Anna was already moving. She snatched the RPG from his corpse, spun toward the passage, and didn't even bother to aim. Whoosh! Boom! The warhead detonated in the tunnel, shaking the walls with thunder. Smoke and fire roared. Anna led the charge, surging forward with 2 squads at her back. Straight into the underground passage. Ah! In the underground passage, 2 Camorra gunmen lay trapped beneath the collapsed wall, screaming in agony. Bang! Bang! 2 cold, precise shots from Anna ended their suffering. Behind her, the 2 assassin squads split left and right, advancing down opposite corridors. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Gunfire and screams echoed through the basement halls. Anna moved forward a few meters, then suddenly froze. At the corner ahead, half a boot jutted out into her line of sight. Bang! Arg! The hidden killer shrieked, stumbling out of cover. Bang! Another bullet drilled clean through his skull. Hugging the wall, Anna leaned quickly, just enough to peek around the corner. Rat-tat-tat. A burst of rounds shredded the wall opposite her. Close call. but now she had the shooter's position. She dropped low, pushed off, and slid into view. Bang! Bang! 2 rounds punched into the enemy's chest. Without pause, she rolled and came up to her feet. Bang! 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 3 more shots finished the job. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught movement inside the side room. 2 more killers, raising shotguns. She grabbed the body of the Mun she'd just killed, yanking him in front of her. Boom! Boom! Both blasts tore through the corpse, exposing a flashbang clipped to his belt. She pulled the pin as she fell back, then kicked the body, grenade and all, into the room. Rolling to the side just as, boom! The flashbang went off. Bzzzzz. The high-pitched ringing didn't slow her. Anna scooped up the dead man's assault rifle, rat-tat-tat, and emptied the magazine through the doorway. Click. Empty. She hit her comm. 6th and 7th squads have broken into the underground passage. Proceed to Phase 3. Breathing hard, she dropped the rifle and reloaded her own pistols. Inside the Santos Club. Mr. Cross. John Wick spoke again. Whatever your plan is, I don't know. But from where I'm sitting, facing over 100 Camorra soldiers left, plus every contract killer in New York closing in, you can't win. Alex Cross looked up at the world's most feared hitman. He hadn't expected Wick to say this much. He sipped his drink before answering, his voice patient and calm. In your eyes, of course I can't win. My men are running out of ammunition. The enemy keeps coming. But... He paused, then explained slowly. Don't forget. Beneath us lies a killer training base. Enough weapons to arm 200 men to the teeth. Ammunition stockpiled for over a month. Yeah, but what makes you so sure you can even take the passage? Wick tilted his head, genuinely curious now. Alex raised a brow. Why do you think the club attacked first? And why do you think we've been defending without counterattacking? To draw their fire. Wick's answer came quick. Alex nodded. His tone grew solemn. My target's been clear all along. Once the enemy realizes that throwing bodies at us won't take the club, the only option left is the underground base, to grab the heavier weapons stored there. Unfortunately for them, the passage from this side is blocked. So they'll have to go the other way. Think about it. From the start, the killers inside that base have been trying to break through to the club. They've already lost a dozen. How many are left down there now? 20? 15. And once I seize the armory, every 2-bit assassin outside waving a handgun will be nothing more than a bad joke. As he spoke, a knock echoed at the club's main door. 3 long. 3 short. 1 long. 1 short. The guard opened up. Duggan stepped in, sniper rifle slung across his shoulder. Mr. Cross. On my way back, I scouted the streets. First wave of freelancers answering the open contract will hit the club entrance in 3 minutes. You've done well. Alex rose, ending the conversation with Wick. He clapped Duggan on the shoulder, then gave crisp orders. Tell the garage teams, clear the elevator and stairwell within 3 minutes. If they can't, fall back into the passage and lock it down. Then Alex looked him in the eye. Jackal, time to move. We're taking the underground base. Duggan nodded. He set down the sniper rifle and took an HNK MP5K PDW submachine gun from Margarita's hands. Without hesitation, he strode toward the stairwell leading to the underground passage. Watching his back, John Wick's eyes narrowed with rare caution. He had observed every one of Alex Cross's people. Even Anna, deadly as she was, didn't radiate the sheer danger that Duggan did. Alex noticed Wick's flicker of wariness. He smiled faintly and tucked that reaction away in his memory. By now, Duggan had already passed through the makeshift barricade the 2 defensive squads had set up. He crouched, snatched a glass bottle from the ground, and crept to the stairwell entrance. No peeking. He simply tossed the bottle down. It clattered noisily down the steps. Then Duggan stepped right up to the corner and pulled the trigger one-handed. Rat-tat-tat. Bullets tore through the 2 Camorra soldiers guarding the underground passage, riddling them with holes. Shooting as he advanced, Duggan moved down the stairs. At the bend, his magazine ran dry. He cocked his head slightly. Breath. Someone was waiting just around the corner. He dropped the SMG and drew his combat knife. At that instant, a gunman swung into view. Duggan's left hand snapped out, seizing the man's weapon arm and slamming it against the wall. His right hand drove the blade deep into the assassin's throat. Even mid-grapple, his peripheral vision caught two more enemies further down the passage. He ducked low, yanking a grenade off the dying man's belt. Click. Pin pulled. He tossed it underhand through the corpse's legs into the corridor. Then, calm as ever, he reclaimed his knife from the man's neck and pressed flat to the wall, pistol already in hand. Boom. The grenade erupted in smoke and fire. Duggan strode through the haze. Bang. Bang. Quick double tap. Targets down. Mr. Wick, you should be grateful we are on the same payroll. Alex finally returned Wick's earlier joke with one of his own. Yeah. Wick didn't deny it. Duggan's strength was undeniable. That single word carried respect for a fellow predator. First and second squads, leave half your ammo and follow Jackal. Sixth squad, fall back into the underground passage. Third and fourth, relieve their barricades, hold the stairwell as long as possible. If you can't, retreat and seal the passage. Alex barked through comms. Then, flanked by Susie and Margarita, he followed Sixth Squad into the passage. John Wick, bound by his contract, stayed tight at Alex's side. The two squads that had been holding the kitchen entrance fell back to reinforce the stairwell. The leftover magazines replenished their near-empty weapons. Inside the underground passage, gunfire flared almost immediately. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Relentless, furious volleys, like the final crescendo of a movie. Within the underground training base, only 3 Camorra killers remained. Barricaded inside the armory, they sprayed wild bursts from their rifles. At the far end of the corridor, Alex could already see Anna waiting, poised for the moment to strike. Both groups converged here. This was the hardest part of the entire plan. An armory meant unlimited ammunition. The 3 defenders could fire endlessly, trading off reloads without pause. One slip of movement, one shadow, meant a hail of bullets. The narrow corridor offered no cover. Even armored suits wouldn't save them from that storm. But Duggan didn't flinch. Pressed to the wall, he keyed his comm Anna. Watch my hand signals. Wait for my command. He flashed quick gestures. 2 words. Advance. Shoot. Anna gave him a thumbs up. Only then did Duggan draw his knife once more. He inhaled deep, then hurled it down the corridor. Rat-tat-tat. The defenders fired instantly at the distraction. Duggan raised his pistol, his other hand steady on the comm, counting silently. 7, 6, 2, 1. Go. At his word, both he and Anna dove forward. Click, the defenders' magazines ran dry. Bang, 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 bang. Anna emptied her clip, most shots missing, but a few tearing into one of the gunners. Duggan fired just 3 rounds. Each bullet punched clean through a forehead. The last man to die was the one who had been spraying like a madman only seconds before. Off to the side, Alex Cross glanced calmly at the time. Not a second more, not a second less, exactly 3 minutes. Rat-tat-tat. The gunfight upstairs had erupted again. The good news was, in those 3 minutes neither the underground garage nor the Santos Club entrance had shown any movement. That meant the squads in both corridors were still holding firm. But time waits for no one. If the killers outside broke through and the squads were forced to retreat into the underground passage, then they would all be trapped in this training base. That would be the worst scenario. Blind to the enemy's numbers and positions, even a breakout with full ammo would bleed them heavily. Alex couldn't afford to waste a second. He barked out orders. Everyone, swap your gear now. Add an extra layer of body armor under your suits. Primary weapons, Corari CA-415 automatic rifles. Load your magazines to full. First and second squads, once rearmed, rotate with third and fourth on the first floor of the club. 6th, 9th, and 10th squads, rearm and head to the hotel garage to rotate with 5th, 7th, 8th, 11th, and 12th. At his word, the armory exploded into action. Fresh vests were hauled from the stockpiles, and heavy CA-415 rifles were handed into every waiting hand. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. Bang, bang, bang. Upstairs, the gunfire swelled again, sharp and relentless. The first wave of bounty hunters had arrived. They joined forces with the Camorra soldiers, hammering the 7 squads still holding outside. Ding. Notice, one of your white-tier assassins has died. Ding. Notice, one of your white-tier assassins has died. The first to falter were 11th and 12th squads at the garage. Within moments, 4 were down. They were the 10 white rank mercs Alex had recruited earlier in the day, injured to begin with, and now the first to be sacrificed. Hearing the system chime, Alex felt a twist in his chest. Those 10 had worked like oxen for him all day. He clenched his teeth and snapped another order: move faster. Our brothers outside are at their limit. Each squad takes 1 RPG, blast them before they close in. The urgency lit a fire under them. Moments later, squads marched out of the armory fully armed. When they returned topside, the tide turned instantly. Boom. Boom. In the garage, an SUV carrying 4 bounty hunters had barely rolled inside before an RPG turned it into flaming debris. At the elevator shafts and stairwells, the Camorra's attackers were blown apart in smoke and gore. Rat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. The RPG tubes were tossed aside, the CA-415 rifles roared. Their superior fire rate and piercing power shredded the bounty hunters who had taken cover behind cars, cutting them down where they crouched. In an instant, a crumbling line had been reforged into a fortress. The same scene played out inside the Santos Club. Boom. 1 RPG vaporized the Camorra fighters who had just broken through the kitchen. At the front doors, the bounty hunters who stormed in met the same fate: 1 rocket, and their courage evaporated. They no longer felt like hunters. They felt like conscripts being hurled against a heavily armed private army. In the underground base, Alex stood with arms akimbo, watching the rotation. 1 squad after another shed their old gear for new armor and fresh rifles. It was a sight that thrilled him. From here forward, the Camorra family's New York branch would know only slaughter. He turned his head, eyes on John Wick, and raised their earlier conversation again. Mr. Wick, the same question: when will the Camorra realize that even every killer in New York can't save their branch from annihilation? What will they do? They'll send Rome's best, their most elite assassins, to kill you. Wick frowned as he said it. Alex shook his head slowly, letting out a dry chuckle. Mr. Wick, it takes 10 years to train an elite assassin, but a few $1 million to hire one. You mean? The deadliest assassin in the world. The Baba Yaga himself. John Wick. And you're already in New York. Sir, the New York branch reports, we've already lost over 50 men. Sir, the club has gone dark. It's completely fallen. Sir, they've breached the underground training base beneath the club. Rome. Camorra headquarters. In Santino's study, one dire message after another hammered at his nerves. His face was ashen, storm-dark, almost dripping with rage. He lit a cigarette, one drag, then hurled it and the lighter violently across the room. Dropping into his chair, his brows knitted tight. Beneath the fury, a trace of regret gnawed at him. If he could turn back time, he would never have provoked that female killer named Gianna. But now, all he could do was salvage this collapsing mess. Ares stepped forward calmly, snuffing out the smoldering cigarette butt. He turned and signed clearly, "Let me go. Even if New York is lost, I'll kill them all and rebuild the branch myself. It's too dangerous. You can't go alone. I'll speak to Gianna, let Cashin go with you." After a long silence, Santino forced the decision out. Begging his sister was the last thing he ever wanted, but there was no other choice. "I don't agree." The doors banged open. Gianna, in her nightgown, stormed into the study. Her face was grim, her eyes brimming with disappointment. "I warned you this morning, send Cashin and Ares right away. And what did you say then?" Her domineering tone left Santino speechless. Back then, the branch was still intact. If Cashin and Ares had gone together, with the branch's manpower, they could have crushed the problem quickly. But the chance was gone. No medicine for regret. Seeing her brother mute, Gianna continued coldly, "The New York branch is finished. There's no saving it. And I won't let Cashin risk his life now." "Why not?" Santino couldn't grasp her reasoning. She agreed in the morning, refused now. Contradiction. But the moment those words left his lips, her eyes filled with even deeper disappointment. "I agreed before because the branch was unscathed. Now? It's suicide. Aries and Cashin are our family's finest. I won't throw them away." Her words struck clarity into Santino's muddled mind. Yes. Pointless. By the time Aries and Cashin reached New York, the branch would already be ashes. And with the armory's weapons, enough to outfit 200 killers, fallen into enemy hands. Too great a risk. Too likely they'd die there. Training 2 more assassins of that caliber was not something that gold and time alone could buy. Gianna shook her head at her brother's silence. "My last advice, hire killers like John Wick or Kane. The best under the high table. Pay whatever it takes." With that, she left. Her midnight visit was only because Santino was her brother. She didn't want their father to lose all hope in him. Because in the Camorra, disappointment carried a deadly price. Santino stared at the closing door, torn for a long while, before finally picking up his phone. The world's greatest assassin, the Baba Yaga, Mr. John Wick. "And you're already in New York, aren't you?" Santos Club. Underground base. The words had barely left Alex Cross's lips when John Wick's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, then answered, his expression complex. "Mr. Wick." Santino's voice came faintly across the line. "Yeah. I want you to kill 2 people. Alex Cross and Anna. When it's done, I'll personally bring you $5 million in New York." "I'm sorry. I can't take the job." "Why not?" Santino's tone spiked in anger. But Wick only lifted his gaze to Alex beside him. Alex was smiling, expectant, unsurprised. Wick thought for a moment, then answered evenly, "Mr. Cross has just hired me. Under high table rules, until the contract ends, I can't raise a hand against my employer." Silence. The line went dead quiet. So long that Wick almost hung up, when finally Santino's voice rasped back, "Wick, is Alex Cross standing right beside you?" Wick slowly exhaled a single word, "Yeah." "Hello, Mr. Santino." Alex's voice carried through the phone. There was no anger. No arrogance. Just a calm, steady tone, laced with that hateful confidence Santino couldn't stand. "Alex, there's no need for us to fight to the death. You pull out of the hotel, I'll cancel the bounty, and we call it even. How about that?" Santino furrowed his brow, barely holding back the surge of rage boiling inside. He had nearly smashed his phone the instant he realized John Wick had been preemptively hired by Alex and was sitting at his side right now. Fortunately, Aries had signed quickly beside him, "Negotiate. Get Alex to retreat from New York. I'll convince Cashin to fly over, and with the branch killers, we'll wipe them out." A desperate proposal, yes, but it gave Santino a sliver of hope. He sat back at his desk, pulled a cigar from the drawer, struck a new lighter, and took a slow drag. He felt certain Alex would accept. After all, the Camorra family was one of the 12 high-table syndicates. Alex was just a nobody, barely on the map for a single day. Even with a squad of decent killers, surely he wouldn't be foolish enough to dig his own grave. But that fragile confidence lasted only a few seconds. "Mr. Santino, latest intel says there are 58 of your men left in the Sully Hotel." "Oh, wait, sorry, make that 57. Alex's mocking tone cut straight through. Bang. The sound of a fist slamming onto a desk rattled through the phone. "Alex. Don't get cocky. The Camorra isn't so easily provoked." Empty threats. Alex let out a sharp laugh. No wonder his plan had gone so smoothly. Santino was an idiot. Dropping all pretense, Alex said plainly, "Mr. Santino, relax. Not one of your killers will walk out of that hotel alive. And as for whether the Camorra will ever again take contracts in New York, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, and a friendly tip, don't bother calling Kane. When I hired Mr. Wick, I hired him too. Save yourself the long-distance bill. It's expensive. Click. Alex hung up. Shit. This time, Santino truly lost control, hurling his phone into the wall. Bracing his hands on the desk, his face flushed crimson, he gasped for breath. If he weren't so young and strong, he might have coughed up blood right there. It took a long while before he slumped weakly into his chair. Only one thought circled in his mind: the New York branch was finished. And so was he. Yes, he had no way out. 2 short exchanges with Alex, and he'd been reduced to a clown. Just as Alex said, he had only thrown out empty threats to protect his pride. But the truth was undeniable. 200 Camorra killers, gone in less than 24 hours, wiped out by a complete unknown. What would it cost to kill Alex now? 500 men? 1,000? And even if Alex died, how many of those sent would ever come back? The Camorra was only one of 12. At the first sign of weakness, the other 11 would swarm like sharks, tearing flesh from bone. His father would never allow it. The family couldn't pay that price. Ares. After a long silence, Santino forced a bitter smile, lifting his head toward the woman who stood quietly by his side. Ares signed, "If you need me to assassinate Alex, I will give my life." Her words, though silent, gave him a strange comfort. He shook his head, gazing out the window, his voice flat. "When my father's punishment comes, what do you think, Ares? Will he send me to Siberia to plant potatoes or to some African tribe to sow wheat?" There was no reply. Ares understood, this was self-mockery. Sure enough, his voice carried on, detached, almost resigned. "No. Probably Mexico or Southeast Asia. Somewhere chaotic. To rebuild a new cadre of killers, until we've patched over the loss of New York." New York. Santos Club, underground training base. After hanging up the call, Alex Cross immediately handed the phone back to John Wick. He remembered well, this was the man who once wiped out an entire mob over a dog. Who knew what might be in that phone? If he forgot to return it and accidentally set Wick off, all his carefully built momentum would go straight to hell. Thankfully, John Wick said nothing. He simply pocketed the phone and stood quietly, as calm as ever. The second wave of strike teams had already rearmed. Alex didn't plan on waiting any longer. With a look, he signaled Anna and Duggan. They both understood. Each took 2 squads and pushed upstairs into the hotel. The club was a vision of hell. Severed limbs scattered everywhere, the stench of blood choking the air. The floors and walls slick with gore. Gunfire was less frequent now. The city's bounty hunters weren't fools. Driving from miles away, anyone who saw the streams of blood running into the street knew immediately, this was no fight for amateurs. Even the stubborn ones, who parked their cars and peeked through the doors, ended up vomiting into the gutter before fleeing. Still, some greedy or arrogant ones thought themselves strong enough. Their fate was always the same: death. As for the underground garage, not a single intact car remained. Windows shattered, bullet holes riddling every chassis, tires shredded beyond use. It wasn't as grotesque as the club above, but still enough to make anyone's heart race. Now and then, scattered gunfire marked a few stubborn killers still fighting back. Bang! On the 6th floor, a gunshot split the silence. Anna, one hand steady on her pistol, kicked a killer out of the stairwell doorway and into the hall. She fired into his skull, then swept the corridor with her eyes. No one else. Every door shut tight. She pressed her back to the wall, reached for the nearest handle, and said with practiced ease, "Room service." Bang bang bang. Rounds blasted through the door, punching into the wall opposite. Anna didn't flinch. She waited a few seconds until the gunfire stopped. Then she pivoted, raised her gun, and aimed at the peephole. Bang. A single shot. Thud. A body hit the floor inside. Anna slipped a stolen master keycard from her pocket, lifted from the front desk, and swiped it. Door unlocked, she pushed in, confirming the corpse. Bathroom door, kicked open. A naked woman crouched in the corner, clutching a knife. Anna froze for half a second. Then raised her gun. Bang. Bang. One shot through the back, another through the head. Clang. The knife clattered onto the tile. So stupid. Anna shook her head. The woman hadn't even bothered to hide the Camorra family mark tattooed on her arm. Meanwhile, Duggan was on the 7th floor. A pistol in hand, suppressor attached. He picked a door at random, swiped the keycard, and opened it, without stepping in. He pressed to the wall, waiting. Moments later, a man leaned halfway out with a pistol, checking the hall. Hit. The silencer coughed. Duggan shoved the body back into the room, using it as cover while he swept the bathroom. Clear. He slipped inside. Thud. The corpse collapsed. 5 seconds later, footsteps approached. Another killer bent to check the body. PFFT. Hit. 2 shots through the bathroom door gap. Another corpse hit the floor. Calmly, Duggan stepped out, confirmed the bedroom was empty, and moved on to the next room. Compared to them, the other 4 strike teams were far less subtle. Each squad swept a floor, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. No finesse. They knocked. If bullets flew from inside, they waited for the enemy to empty their mags, then kicked the door down and stormed in. With bulletproof suits and extra armor underneath, as long as they didn't take a headshot, they'd be fine. As for terrified tourists who opened the door nervously, if confirmed not to be Camorra, they even got a polite farewell, sorry for the disturbance. Sweet dreams. Then the squad moved on. In just minutes, an entire floor was cleared. 10 minutes later, Duggan and Anna returned to the underground training base. They exchanged a knowing nod toward Alex Cross. The meaning was clear. Every last Camorra family killer inside the Salisbury Hotel had been wiped out. With that, the Camorra family's New York division was annihilated. Aside from the occasional gunshots from the club and parking garage, where a few bounty hunters still tried to push their way inside, the operation was a complete success. Alex lifted his wrist and checked the time. 10:45 p.m. That was it. From the moment the fight began to its end, only 45 minutes had passed. Get a team to clear out the top-floor presidential suites, he ordered. He waved at Susie, signaling her to handle the arrangements. Then Alex turned toward John Wick. Mr. Wick, I've had rooms prepared for you. You can head up with them now, choose whichever you like. I've still got things to take care of, you understand. Yeah, John Wick replied with a nod. Following Susie, he left the armory. He knew exactly what was coming. The bounty hunters outside weren't going to give up so easily. Nobody was leaving Salisbury Hotel yet. If he was staying, then the cleaning of rooms, looting of spoils, and planning of next steps, all of it needed handling. But Wick wasn't interested in any of that. Since Alex gave him a room and a polite excuse, he was happy to go upstairs and get some sleep. Once Wick was gone, Margarita, who had been sorting through the armory's weapons, finally spoke. Mr. Cross, we just found a large vault in the back of the armory. She stepped aside and pointed deeper into the room. Alex followed her gesture. A reinforced steel door was embedded in the farthest wall. He turned back to Margarita. You tried opening it? It's a special steel door, needs a code to unlock. Explosives. It'll work. Then blow it. Alex decided without hesitation. Yes, sir. Margarita quickly ordered 2 killers to prep a block of C4. They pressed it to the door, retreated to cover, and hit the detonator. Boom. The blast ripped the heavy door loose, sending it crashing sideways into the dust. 2 killers swept inside first, ensuring it was safe. Only then did Alex lead Anna, Duggan, and Margarita inside. The vault wasn't huge, about the size of a bedroom. In the center sat a cube draped with canvas. Pulling it back revealed neat stacks of US dollars, roughly 80 million. On the left stood a metal cabinet. Inside, coins. Alex gathered them into his pack. When counted, they totaled, gold coins, 737, exactly what he expected. A family branch didn't need to stockpile too many. On the right-hand shelves, however, documents. And those caught Alex's eye. Files like New York Division assassin roster, arms trade records, assassination logs, and more. He only skimmed them, but it was enough. These were weapons, secrets sharp enough to bleed the Camorra family dry. Station a squad here. Guard every file. No one touches them unless I say so. With his plan set, Alex gave Margarita the order before leaving the vault with the others. In the hall, Susie was already approaching, carrying reports. "Mr. Cross," she said, quickening her pace. She handed him the paper. "According to the count, we eliminated 177 Camorra family killers and 106 bounty hunters. There are still 8 fighting on the perimeter. In addition, we lost 10 men. 9 were wounded lightly. 2, seriously. The final tally of losses and gains will be ready in 2 hours." Alex nodded. He'd expected as much. The 10 dead were already reported by the system. No exceptions, every one of them was among the first white-tier killers he had summoned. Bulletproof suits or not, poking your head out in a battle this brutal, survival was impossible. After a brief moment of silence for the 10 fallen killers, Alex Cross steadied himself and returned to work. The most urgent matter now was the cleanup. He had no intention of calling in the dinner service cleanup crew. 1 coin per corpse. Tonight, nearly 300 dead. He wasn't about to waste that many coins. Fortunately, the underground training base had every facility imaginable: an armory, a shooting range, tactical training rooms, a medical bay, and of course, a crematorium. After all, not every trainee survived graduation. The dead needed burning. But considering the killers had just fought through a brutal battle, the 50 remaining needed rest and treatment. Alex opened his system shop. Strength elixir, green, ×1 cost. 10 coins limited times 70% discount. Assassin recruitment scroll, white, ×100 cost. 20 coins limited time 80% discount. Only 2 discounted items remained. He spent 30 coins without hesitation and bought them all. Leaving the armory, he entered the shooting range. With a wave of his hand, 100 white-tier killers materialized. He clapped his hands, then issued the order, "Everyone, upstairs. Move all corpses from the hotel and club to the corridor end. Take anything valuable. Dump the bodies into the crematorium. Then clean the hotel and club." The squads broke off instantly, some heading out through the parking garage to drag bodies, others moving upstairs through the club. Once they were gone, Alex handed Susie 2 gold coins. "Call a doctor. Have him come here and treat the wounded." "Yes, Mr. Cross." Susie pocketed the coins, stepped aside, and began dialing. Half an hour later, the 100 recruits were working fast. Most of the bodies were already in the crematorium, reduced to ash and sealed in bags. Only a few mangled remains required extra tools to clean. Meanwhile, the bounty center rescinded the public contract on Alex Cross and Anna. When word reached him, Alex wasn't surprised. He had expected this the moment he blew open the hidden vault. With 50 killers now resting on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the hotel, Alex took Anna and Duggan upstairs. Susie and Margarita stayed behind, one tallying profits from the operation, the other taking inventory of the armory. At the hotel's top floor, Alex chose the presidential suite next to John Wick's as his own for the night. Duggan took the one across the hall. Anna, as always, stayed with Alex, guarding him closely. After a quick shower, Alex didn't rush to sleep. He was waiting for one call. An international call from Rome. Finally, at 11:30 p.m., the phone rang. He glanced at the number. Not Santino, that idiot. Then he answered. A mature woman's voice came through. "Good evening, Mr. Cross. This is Gianna D'Antonio. I must apologize for the trouble my brother has caused you." "Miss D'Antonio, no need for pleasantries. Say what you came to say." Alex chuckled, unfazed. Santino's father would never call him directly. As one of the high table 12, he had too much pride. So the only one left to negotiate was Gianna. This woman, clever and ruthless, had consolidated Rome's underworld in record time. But her flaw was her blind trust in her brother. Not that Alex cared about Camorra family politics. What mattered was what he could take from her. "Mr. Cross, I hope we can set aside hostilities for now. On behalf of the Camorra family, I've shown sincerity. We've canceled the public contract on you and Miss Anna." Gianna's voice was calm and businesslike. As expected, no small talk. Both sides knew the truth. This was a blood feud. Any truce now was only because Alex had the upper hand, forcing concessions. So when Gianna spoke, Alex replied without hesitation, "Mr. Antonio, I don't worry about public contracts. But yes, I accept your gesture. And let me be very clear, the documents you want are in my possession." With one sentence, Alex Cross cut straight to the heart of the call. Gianna fell silent. She hadn't expected Alex to already possess the vault's documents. But the shrewd woman quickly realized, he must have read them, understood their weight to the Camorra family, and was now waiting for her to come begging. The thought made her sigh bitterly. Her dear brother had truly created a disaster for the family. As for abandoning the documents? Impossible. Just one file, the New York Division assassin roster, was enough to force Gianna to the table. The New York branch might have been wiped out, but more than half the names on that list were still alive, scattered worldwide, carrying out assignments. They were the true elites the branch had cultivated over the years. The Camorra could never give them up. With that list in Alex's hands, if she failed to buy him off, he could unleash assassins to hunt them down. Or worse, release the roster publicly. Either would be catastrophic. At the very least, she needed to ensure Alex wouldn't act rashly, giving her time to erase identities and shield those operatives. And this was just one of the dossiers tying her hands. Unlike her foolish brother Santino, Gianna was decisive. After only a short silence, she asked directly, "Mr. Cross, what do you want?" Alex didn't hesitate. The Salisbury Hotel and the Santos Club. On top of that, 500 gold coins. In return, I'll hand you the documents untouched, and guarantee 5 years of peace with the Camorra family. He smiled as he named his price. "That's impossible." Gianna blurted it out without thinking. The demand stunned her. One hotel and one nightclub alone were worth hundreds of millions, never mind the underground training base beneath, which could, with slight modifications, serve as a powerful stronghold in New York. Arming an enemy? Unthinkable. And 500 coins? Absolutely not. Each coin traded for about $1 million on the black market. That was $500 million. Even as one of the High Table 12, the Camorra wouldn't simply hand 500 coins to a rival. Besides, if Alex could loot the vault's records, then surely he had already taken its coins. Gianna clenched her jaw, forcing a bitter laugh. "Mr. Cross, you know the Camorra cannot agree to those terms." "Mr. Antonio, you misunderstand." Alex cut her off smoothly. In negotiations like this, whoever controlled the words controlled the price. So he laid it out for her. "Gianna, I told your brother, I won't allow Camorra killers to return to New York. If you won't meet my terms, I'll make that promise a reality. My base is here. I can fight you on home ground. Can you afford that distraction? And if you can't re-establish in New York, the hotel and club will rot, 2 worthless buildings. Trading them for your files and 5 years of peace isn't a loss. As for 500 coins, tell me, what's worth more? Some metal tokens, or your family's return to New York?" Gianna had to admit, every word was true. But her calculus stretched beyond 5 years. She had to think of risks long after. Still, she had little room to bargain. She was not the one in control. After a long pause, she gave her counteroffer, "Mr. Cross, the family cannot agree to your conditions. However, I can sell you the Salisbury Hotel and the Santos Club for $50 million. As for the coins, you'll get 200, no more." Alex pretended to hesitate, as though reluctant. Then he agreed. In truth, his bottom line was always just the hotel and the club. The 500 coin demand? That was a smokescreen, a way to raise the ceiling, then let her cut him down to his real goal. So while he'd pay 50 million, the equivalent of 50 coins, he'd also walk away with 2 properties and 150 extra coins. A bargain. Indeed, the High Table's 12 families were all obscenely rich. The next morning, at 10 a.m., Alex finally woke from his sleep. Glancing to his side, he saw Anna was already up. When he walked out into the living room, he spotted Duggan there as well. The two of them were quietly eating breakfast at the dining table. Neither had spoken a word until Alex stepped out of the bedroom. Only then did they both greet him. He nodded back, then went into the bathroom. After brushing his teeth, washing his face, and changing into a fresh bulletproof suit, He joined them at the table. Taking the plate Anna handed him, Alex began eating. He had only taken 2 bites when Anna suddenly spoke up. "Mr. Alex, that serum you gave me yesterday was incredible. I can clearly feel that my condition is much better than before." Her words instantly reminded Alex of the Constitution Repair Serum he had given her the night before. He smacked his forehead and quickly opened up Anna's status panel. Name, Anna Poliatova. Age, 22. Height, 178 centimeters. Skills, English Proficiency Level 4, Russian Proficiency Level 5, Stealth and Disguise Level 4, Close Combat Level 4, Firearms Mastery Level 4, Driving Level 3, Hacking Level 3. Talents, Fast Learning Level 5, Adaptability Level 4. Flaws, Habit of carrying bags on the left side. Poor weight sensitivity with firearms. Note, her physical flaws have been removed. With a period of professional training, her strength will rise again. Sure enough. Seeing this confirmation, Alex grabbed Anna and kissed her hard. He had been right. With proper training, Anna's rank could be raised again. Becoming a true ace assassin was only a matter of time. In high spirits, Alex quickly finished his breakfast and led Anna and Duggan out of the room. Downstairs in the underground training base, he first instructed Duggan to prepare a detailed training plan for Anna. Then Alex went alone into the tactical training room. From his personal backpack, he pulled out the last 2 items, Strength Serum, Green, Assassin Youth Training Camp Level 1. He uncorked the vial of green serum without hesitation and downed it in one gulp. Almost immediately, he felt subtle changes in his muscles and bones. A surge of raw power rushed through his body. He grabbed a table to test. The weight that had once strained him now felt light. Alex grinned in satisfaction and put it down. Then his eyes turned to the small green badge, the training camp. Following the instructions, he hung it on the tactical room's door. A panel appeared. Name, Training Camp, Level 1, Effect, after 48 hours, upgrades 10 white-grade assassins into green-grade assassins. Alex signaled a nearby assassin, telling him to bring 10 white-grade recruits inside. As soon as they stepped in, the door shut on its own. A digital countdown appeared, 47 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Satisfied, Alex scheduled the remaining 90 white-grade assassins into the queue and left the matter alone. Back in the shooting range, Alex found Anna and Duggan again, just as John Wick came down from upstairs. To Alex's surprise, Wick actually gave input on Anna's training plan. Duggan completely agreed with Wick's suggestions. The two had the kind of mutual respect only warriors could share. Alex didn't interrupt. He simply stood by quietly until they were done. "Mr. Wick, thank you for your valuable advice," Alex said sincerely. "No need. You paid me $2 million. I'm not the kind of man who takes money and does nothing," Wick replied, waving it off. He looked to be in good spirits. And then Susie arrived with even better news. Kane had arrived in New York and was heading to the Continental. At the mention of his friend, even Wick's stoic face cracked into a rare smile. Alex glanced at the time and said with a light grin, "Mr. Wick, only 6 hours remain before our contract ends. By then, maybe you and Mr. Kane can sit down and have a good drink together." For once, Wick chuckled softly. He nodded and replied, "Yeah. Noon. At exactly 12 o'clock. The Continental Hotel." At the front desk, when Alex arrived with Anna, Duggan, and John Wick, Karen's face broke into a smile. This smile was different from his usual polite courtesy. It carried a rare sense of genuine relief. Even though they had only met a handful of times, the fact that Alex and Anna were still alive made him sincerely glad. As always, Sharon greeted them with perfect manners. "Mr. Alex, Mr. Wick, Miss Anna, and Mr. Duggan, welcome to the Continental. Mr. Sharon, I'm here to see Mr. Kane." "Where is he?" "Mr. Kane is in the bar. You can find him there." "Thank you." Alex nodded with a faint smile, then led the group toward the bar. The moment they pushed open the door, the noise inside suddenly quieted. Within seconds, the entire bar fell into dead silence. Every pair of eyes locked onto Alex. Fear, respect, awe, admiration. Emotion swirled in every gaze. After all, Alex was the first man in New York history to survive a public bounty. And last night, at the Salisbury Hotel and the Santos Club, he had not only wiped out the Camorra family's entire New York division of 177 men, but also left 106 bounty hunters dead on the scene. Not in the past decade had such a massacre ever occurred. That night already had a name whispered across the underworld, the Manhattan meat grinder. And the man responsible, Alex, was now standing at the bar's entrance. Killers across the room rose to their feet, each offering him silent respect. A few seconds later, they all sat back down, the hum of chatter and laughter filling the room once more, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, a voice called out from a corner booth. "Hey, John." Both Alex and Wick turned their heads. There sat Kane, smiling and waving them over. His eyes were still bright, no sunglasses, no blindness yet. Clearly, this was before he gave up his sight for his daughter. Before they could move, Kane stood, pulled out a gold coin, and handed it to Addie. "Miss Addie, 5 glasses of whiskey, sent to my table. Thanks." Then he turned, embraced Wick with a smile, and finally looked toward Alex. "Hello, Mr. Alex." They shook hands politely. Once seated together in the corner booth, Kane spoke directly. "Mr. Alex, you told me you had a way for me to have it both ways. Was that true?" Alex nodded. Back when he had first contacted Kane by phone, he made a promise no assassin could refuse. That promise was enough to lure this killer, John Wick's equal, into New York. No contracts. No binding terms. It was all just a trick to fool Santino, that idiot. And surprisingly, it had worked. "Then let's not waste words," Kane said, relief flickering across his face. After a pause, he went straight to the point. "Mr. Alex, what do you want me to do? And what's this method you mentioned? This way I can retire peacefully and raise my daughter." Right then, Addie arrived with the whiskey. Alex accepted his glass, sipped, then calmly placed it back on the table. "Mr. Kane," he asked, "as a bounty killer, you've never joined any particular faction, have you?" "No. Have you ever considered joining one?" "If you're trying to recruit me, forget it." Kane's smile vanished. His expression hardened. Clearly, he thought he was being toyed with. But Alex simply swirled his whiskey, took another sip, and replied smoothly, "Don't be so quick to refuse. Why not hear the benefits first?" Kane said nothing, only lifted his glass and downed a mouthful. Unbothered, Alex continued, "No contracts. No mandatory work. You don't even need to stay inside the organization. Instead, the organization assigns specialists to secretly protect your daughter and shield you from the High Table's missions." Even John Wick arched an eyebrow at that. Kane, who had been grim-faced, now instinctively asked, "What's the condition?" Alex smiled. "In the future, you help the organization 3 times. That's all. And I promise, these won't be unreasonable tasks, nor anything beyond your ability." For Alex, his principle toward Kane and John Wick was simple. He might not need to use them every day, but he had to keep them tied to his side. Because in the future, he would bring down the High Table. And when that time came, the last thing he wanted was for these 2 gods of death to be standing on the enemy's side, forcing him to waste dozens, maybe even hundreds, of his own assassins just to eliminate them. Compared to that, the small price he was paying now was nothing. If it meant Kane would commit to helping him 3 times without question, it was more than worth it, a true win-win. Clearly, Kane was tempted by Alex's offer. "You're certain, after I join, aside from 3 missions of my own choice, there will be no further demands?" "Correct." "Can you guarantee my daughter and I will never be disturbed by the High Table again?" "I guarantee it." Alex's words were sharp and certain. Even though his power in New York was still new, his confidence was unshaken. Kane studied Alex's expression, running his fingers along his glass, weighing the risks in his heart. Finally, he made his decision. He would trust Alex, and if Alex failed, Kane would still find a way to protect his daughter. With that, he lifted his head, drained his vodka in a single gulp, and gave his answer, "Fine. I'll do it." "Mr. Kane, welcome to the fold." Alex clinked his glass against his and drank deeply. Anna and Duggan followed suit. On the side, John Wick silently watched. He looked down at his untouched vodka. Seeing the decisiveness with which Kane, for the sake of his daughter, abandoned the assassin's path forever, John Wick felt, just for a fleeting moment, a strange weariness toward the life he still lived. But the feeling was brief, vanishing before it could take root. Santos Club. When Alex and his group returned, Susie was already outside, wearing a hard hat and directing workers as they remodeled the building. This renovation was massive. She was sparing no expense. Even the windows were being replaced with bulletproof glass. Kane glanced at the ripped-up floors and walls inside, all riddled with dense bullet holes, stained with blood. He could easily imagine how brutal the battle last night had been. Mr. Alex, are you sure? I won't be dragged into things like this in the future. He gestured with a slim, straight blade, still in its sheath, toward a piece of blood-stained, bullet-riddled flooring being carried out by workers. Mr. Kane, Alex replied with a wry, confident smile, one man doesn't deceive another. Kane rolled his eyes, lowering the blade. With words like that, what else was there to doubt? Oh, and Mr. Kane, Alex added, clapping him lightly on the shoulder, tonight you and Mr. Wick should have a good drink here. Old friends deserve that. The organization will cover the tab. With that playful remark, Alex led Anna and Duggan toward the underground stairway. Behind him, Kane and John Wick exchanged a look, both of them at a loss for words. Rome. At the Camorra family headquarters, Gianna stood on the balcony of her bedroom, staring down at the execution platform below. Her brother Santino was bound to a crucifix, enduring one of the family's most ancient punishments. Exposed beneath the burning sun, his lips were already cracked and dry, and his body was baking in the heat. If he survived 2 days, the punishment would end, but he would then be exiled to the harshest of the family's domains, forced to repay the damage he had caused. If he died, he would be buried, cross and all. No one looked his way. Only Ares stood silently nearby, watching without a word. Gianna made no move to beg their father for mercy. The high table had its laws. The Camorra had its traditions. Turning away from the sight of her brother's suffering, she accepted a phone from Cashin, who bowed respectfully. Her father's voice came through the receiver. Gianna, I want to hear your thoughts. Don't tell me you don't realize what a disgrace it is to hand over that hotel and club. Father. She answered reverently, then spoke steadily. Given the current situation, the family had no choice but to concede. Of course, this is only temporary. Against an enemy like Alex, we cannot risk the entire family. Her eyes returned briefly to Santino, and in them burned suppressed rage and hatred. The most important thing now is for the Camorra to rebuild its strength. As for New York, we must find someone who can continuously cause Alex trouble. We wait quietly. And when he's at his weakest, we strike and kill him with a single blow. New York. Lower Manhattan. In a filthy, chaotic alley overflowing with trash and rats, a heavy-set black beggar curled up in a corner, not daring to move. Just a short distance away, by a dumpster, a few gang enforcers were dumping a corpse. They shoved the blood-soaked black bag inside while cursing under their breath, "Damn. This alley stinks like hell. Well, maybe stop dumping bodies here every time. Look at the rats, they're so fat from all your feeding, they can barely waddle." Shit. You're disgusting, man. Disgusting now? Why didn't you tell him to take it easy when Night Demon was the one doing the killing? The last remark was enough to silence them instantly. As if they'd spoken a forbidden name, the men quickly abandoned the corpse and fled the alley. No sooner had they gone than the beggar scrambled out of hiding. He clawed open the sticky cloth bag, hands rummaging through the dead man's pockets. Finally, at the victim's severed finger, he found a gold ring. With no hesitation, the beggar snapped it off. He glanced nervously around, then bolted from the alley. Behind him, the rats squealed, swarming eagerly over the corpse. Just one street away, inside the kitchen of the St. Diane strip club, a man covered in ancient tattoos was slicing into a bloody steak. Beside the meat lay a severed finger, its blood dripping down the cutting board onto the floor. Thok. 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 The pan sizzled as he lit the flame, brushed on butter, and dropped the bloody steak into the skillet. Calmly wiping his hands, he turned toward the doorway, where a man in a tailored suit stood silently, watching. "So," the tattooed man finally said, voice cold, "your New York branch gets wiped out, and suddenly you come crawling to me, the so-called traitor of the Camorra? Mr. Night Demon, you may have left the Camorra, but the blood of the family still runs in your veins. The Dawn promises, if you eliminate Alex, your betrayal will be forgiven. You'll be welcomed back." "Ha!" Night Demon sneered. "Family, huh? If Alex hadn't struck first, I'd have destroyed that pathetic New York branch myself sooner or later." Night Demon. The family came with sincerity. The suited man frowned but stood his ground, not cowed, though a flicker of disgust crossed his face. Night Demon chuckled darkly again. He flipped the steak, letting it sear. "Sincerity? I already control half of New York. I want for nothing. What can your family possibly offer me? If you let Alex grow unchecked, he will eventually come for your share of the city. That's inevitable." The words hit their mark. Night Demon paused mid-motion, the spatula hovering over the pan. At last, he plated the half-cooked steak. Then, with deliberate cruelty, he placed the severed finger squarely on top. He slid the dish across the counter, grinning, "Eat this clean, every last bite, and then we'll talk about what sincerity the Camorra has to offer a traitor like me." The man froze. He had just watched Night Demon pin someone to the cutting board, chop off the finger, and slit the throat. Even without the finger, there was no way he could stomach that steak. Santos Club. 8 p.m. John Wick had completed his contract with Alex. Without delay, he pulled Kane upstairs, dragging 2 stools over to the half-demolished bar. They grabbed a few surviving bottles of liquor, drinking and swapping stories of their past lives. "John, you should step away from the work. Give yourself a real vacation." "A vacation?" "That's right. Hit Las Vegas, gamble a little. Or Hawaii, sun, ocean, no bloodshed. Stop drowning yourself in this assassin's life. Now that you mention it, there is somewhere I suddenly want to see." Kane's words stirred something in John Wick. For the first time in years, he felt maybe, just maybe, it was time to rest. Meanwhile, beneath their feet, in the underground training hall, Anna was at the range, working on her shooting. Not her usual style this time. She was practicing the Mozambique drill, the technique John Wick had taught her. Nearby, Duggan silently assembled a sniper rifle. And Alex himself sat calmly at the shooting range entrance, chair pulled up, eyes scanning the system's marketplace as Susie and Margarita finished reporting the day's spoils. "Mr. Alex, the 2 severely injured assassins have been treated by the doctor. All bodies at the hotel have been incinerated. Excluding the vault profits, the tally is $940,000 cash, 307 gold coins. Mr. Alex, as for weapons, 11 sniper rifles with 937 rounds, 74 M4A1 assault rifles with 9,796 rounds, 168 MP5K submachine guns with 16,734 rounds. 307 gold coins. Added to the 737 coins from before, Alex now held over 1,000 coins in total. And by tomorrow, the Camorra would be sending another 200 coins to the Continental. So this time, Alex didn't bother penny pinching. He directly spent 10 coins for a mid-tier refresh. At once, the empty discount shop filled with 5 items. 1. Backpack expansion cards times 10. Consumable. Each card unlocks 1 extra backpack slot. Value. 20 coins, 80% off. 2. Assassin recruitment scrolls. Blue, times 30. Instantly recruit 30 assassins of blue quality, each with a random skill/talent. Value, 90 coins, 90% off. 3. Healing wax. Blue, times 100. From Wanted, the movie, a traditional alchemical wax that, when diluted in water, heals any non-lethal wounds within 36 hours. Value, 150 coins, 90% off. 4. Weapon Workshop Level 2. High quality, fully automated gun workshop. Produces firearms at 50% below market price. Requires corresponding blueprints. Value, 200 coins, 95% off. 5. Organization Emblem Level 1. Activates after naming. Serves as the primary symbol of an organization. Effect scale with upgrades. Value, 500 coins, 90% off. Truth be told, this refresh was far better than the last. But the prices were brutal. Alex had assumed he could clear the shop with just 100 coins. Then he saw the final item, 500 coins. He winced. Half his fortune gone on one thing. But curiosity gnawed at him. What was so special about the organization emblem? He tapped it. A stat sheet appeared. Item, Organization Emblem Level, Level 1 Function 1. Spend 1 gold coin to mint an identity badge. Each badge is bulletproof. The wearer gains plus 20% stamina recovery and plus 20% wound healing. Function 2. Training Camp, Workshop, Infirmary, Armory, Assassin Barracks, etc. All facility timers reduced by 20%. Note, activates once a name is entered. Higher levels grant stronger effects. Hiss. Even at level 1, the emblem's power was insane. Alex's heart pounded. Grinding his teeth, he spent the 500 coins. And once that was done, he didn't hesitate, he bought everything else too. His 1000 plus coins were gone in a blink. Only 74 coins remained. Might have gone overboard this time. Muttering under his breath, Alex exited the shop. He rose, entered the armory, and pulled out the Weapon Workshop Level 2 card. He hung it on the wall. Instantly, a panel appeared. Name, Weapon Workshop, Level 2, Effect, automatically produces firearms at 50% below market price. Current blueprints, none. Alex wasn't worried. Blueprints were easy to acquire. And at a 50% profit margin, arms dealing alone could make him rich. Satisfied, he drew out the backpack expansion cards and the 30 recruitment scrolls, blue. A thought, and his backpack now had 10 slots. At the same time, 30 new assassins materialized in the underground base. He inspected one. Name, Clemens George, age, 29, height, 181 centimeters, skills, English proficiency level 4, stealth/disguise level 3, close combat level 3, firearms level 3, driving level 3, talent, cold weapon affinity level 2. Not bad. In the world of John Wick, he was a solid upper-tier assassin, fully capable of completing contracts solo. Alex turned to Margarita. Get them kit with bulletproof suits and weapons. Each one gets a phone. Assign contracts immediately. Yes, Mr. Alex. And fetch me some standard weapon blueprints, soon. I'll make it happen. With the chores wrapped, Alex finally held the prize that had cost him so dearly, the organization emblem. He was about to name it when Kane appeared from the corridor. Seeing Alex at the armory door, he quickened his pace, curiosity plain on his face. I don't think I ever heard the name of this organization of yours. Alex smiled faintly. 2 words slipped from his lips. Lighthouse. Mr. Kane, Alex explained, based on each member's strength, role, and responsibilities within the organization, they'll be given corresponding identity badges. He stood outside the shooting range, watching Anna finish her training. She wiped sweat from her face with a towel while walking toward him. Alex gave Kane a rough outline of the Lighthouse organization structure: Assassination Division, Logistics Division, Enforcement Division. Of course, what he said and the actual situation weren't the same. After all, this was still just the starting stage. They had only just established a foothold. Personnel and territory were still minimal. There was no need to make the divisions too rigid. Once higher quality recruits came in later, restructuring would be easier. So, for now, Alex kept the assignment simple. Green rank assassins are responsible for security at the hotel and club, under Susie's command. Her duty was to keep both places running smoothly. Blue rank assassins handled external contracts, managed by Margarita, who also oversaw weapons and supply distribution. At this stage, their main source of funds came from these 30 blue rank assassins taking on contracts. Alex jokingly referred to them as kill delivery couriers. As for Anna, Duggan, and Kane, they were strategic level talents, directly answering to Alex. To distinguish their status, Alex spent 5 coins to craft 4 types of badges: Heart Series Queen of Hearts, Anna, Lighthouse's Ace Female Assassin; Spade Series King of Spades, Duggan, Lighthouse's Ace Male Assassin; Club Series King of Clubs, Kane, Lighthouse's near-retired assassin. Diamond Series 10 of Diamonds, Susie, 9 of Diamonds, Margarita, Lighthouse's logistics managers. Why playing cards? Alex's explanation: they're soft, lightweight, fit perfectly in a suit's breast pocket, and can even shield the heart. The truth? He simply couldn't be bothered designing something elaborate. The next morning, Kane left New York to help his daughter process her passport and bring her back. Margarita also set out early, borrowing 10 green rank assassins from Susie. According to Susie, Margarita was going to buy weapon blueprints. Susie herself was still buried in work. She spent the morning supervising every detail of the hotel and club renovations. Oh, and she'd already renamed them, the Lighthouse Hotel and the Lighthouse Club. Anna wasn't around either. She had tasked Duggan with protecting Alex and gone down to the underground training base to begin her tactical training. Around 10 a.m., representatives of the Camorra family arrived at the Lighthouse Hotel. Alex wasn't idle either. He welcomed them. 2 assassins stood beside their pale-faced envoy, who carried a black suitcase. Inside was Alex's promised payment, 200 gold coins, along with the deeds to the hotel and club. Money delivery. Alex was happy to meet them. But once he did, he almost regretted it. The man looked ghastly pale and sickly, occasionally gagging. His excuse? Bad food last night. Terrible food poisoning. Alex wasn't convinced. He half suspected the Camorra deliberately sent him just to disgust him. So, without exchanging many words, Alex had Susie hand him $50 million, took the deeds and the 200 coins, and promptly dismissed them. Meanwhile, John Wick, having ended his contract with Alex, had gone home. He thought carefully about Kane's advice. Early that morning, he bought a plane ticket and flew to Guadalajara, Mexico. From the airport, he hailed a cab to a small town far from the city center. By noon, he arrived. Standing at the town's entrance, John Wick lingered for a long time. His thoughts drifted back over 20 years. Back then, he hadn't yet become a hitman. He was just a petty thief on the streets. One day, he'd stolen something from the infamous Trace Billy organization. The result, a relentless manhunt, forcing him to flee, straight to this very town. What he never expected was that his actions would cause the Trace Billy to slaughter the entire town. Though he eventually avenged them, it remained a past he could never face. Now, seeing the town thriving again, John Wick sighed deeply and stepped forward. Unaware, this journey would soon bring about earth-shaking changes in his life. New Seer Town. A small town John Wick had not set foot in for over 20 years. Back then, the Trace Billy organization had massacred the entire settlement. It lay abandoned for years, until a group of Mexican cartel members discovered it and turned it into a flower transit hub. On the surface, residents lived there as if it were a normal community. In reality, it was a hub for the drug trade. Even crime bosses from America often came here for supplies. Among them, the Vigo gang of New York. Abram. Remember, just sit quietly by my side. Let me handle everything else. Inside the town tavern, Vigo sat in a corner, lecturing his younger brother. Abram sat beside him, frantically scribbling notes with a pencil in a small notebook. From time to time, Vigo's gaze shifted toward the window. As head of the Vigo gang, his purpose here was clear: to secure flower shipments. And why bring his brother? Because Abram's taxi company in New York was about to go bankrupt. As an older brother, Vigo couldn't let him drown in debt. Besides, Abram's fleet of taxis would make an ideal smuggling channel. And Abram himself was eager to make money. So the brothers came together to this Mexican town. Creak, the tavern door opened. John Wick stepped inside. He glanced around, not noticing Vigo and Abram in the corner. Whiskey, please. He went straight to the bar and ordered a drink, ready to casually ask about the town's situation. But suddenly, smack. The tavern owner slammed his palm heavily on the counter. We're not serving today. If you want a drink, go somewhere else. A man seasoned in the underworld, John Wick instantly understood. He had walked into a deal in progress. Without saying a word, he stood up to leave. But it was too late. The tavern door opened again, and several cartel thugs covered in tattoos walked in, hauling crates of flour. They noticed John Wick. Instead of speaking, they turned toward Vigo and Abram. Both brothers shook their heads. The meaning was clear: he's not one of us. The thugs' eyes darkened. Their hands crept behind their backs. They were going to draw their guns and eliminate the stranger. John Wick saw it too. Backing away, he raised his hands in a calming gesture, trying to de-escalate. He hadn't brought a gun on this trip. He scanned the tavern quickly, searching for anything he could use as a weapon. The best outcome would have been avoiding a fight. But clearly, that wasn't going to happen. The thugs' fingers wrapped around their pistols. In a flash, John Wick snatched the pencil from Abram's hand. He lunged forward, grabbing the nearest thug's wrist mid-draw. The pencil tip stabbed directly into the man's carotid artery. Turning sideways, John twisted, pulling the pencil free, then drove it upward through another thug's jaw, stabbing into his mouth. Bang! Bang! The last thug fired 2 shots. But John Wick dragged the dying body in front of him, using it as a shield. He shoved the corpse forward. At the same time, he yanked out the pencil from under its chin and hurled it. The tip sank straight into the shooter's right eye. The man screamed. John surged forward, stomping down. The pencil drove deeper into his eye socket. The entire exchange was smooth. Fluid. Over in less than a minute. Bang. Another shot rang out. The tavern owner had fired from behind the counter. John Wick hadn't brought a gun. Nor was he wearing a bulletproof suit. The bullet struck his side. No time to check the wound. He grabbed a glass from the counter, hurled it at the tavern owner, then dropped to the floor, scooped up a fallen pistol, and fired 3 shots. The tavern owner collapsed. It was over. John Wick turned his head. Vigo and Abram were cowering under the table. He didn't kill them. Instead, clutching his bleeding side, John staggered out of the tavern. A long silence. Finally, Vigo peeked out. He stared at the corpses on the floor, especially the last man, pencil still jammed in his eye. He swallowed hard. Oh, shit. That guy just killed 3 people, with a pencil. Abram stared at the carnage, speechless. He gulped loudly, unable to believe it. Vigo was shaken too. But then his gaze shifted out the window. John Wick's silhouette was already disappearing down the street. Grinding his teeth, Vigo grabbed Abram. The two scooped up the crates of powder, jumped into their car, and sped off after John Wick. Little did Vigo know, one day, over nothing more than a dog, he would die by John Wick's hand. New York. Lighthouse Hotel. Afternoon. 2 p.m. Alex was upstairs, napping. Suddenly, a sharp system notification rang in his head, dragging him awake. He opened the system and checked the message log. Ding. Reminder. One of your assassins, blue rank, has died. For a moment, Alex couldn't believe it. He knew very well what the strength of a blue-ranked assassin meant. Wearing a bulletproof suit, fully armed, maybe not as terrifying as John Wick, able to take on 100 men alone, but still at least a 1 against 10 existence. In New York City, assassins like that could sweep through any single order under $1 million. And yet now, the system was notifying him one had died. He didn't doubt the system. That assassin must have run into something. Otherwise, there was only one possibility. The assassin was crazy enough to accept a contract to kill John Wick. Although that chance was tiny, Alex still decided to confirm. After all, this was the same man who once slaughtered an entire mob over a dog. Rolling out of bed, Alex grabbed his phone from the nightstand. He scrolled down to John Wick's number and dialed. The call connected quickly. "Mr. Wick, where are you right now?" Alex asked directly. John Wick was just as blunt. His answer made Alex's stomach sink. "Hospital." "What?" "You're injured." Took a bullet to the abdomen." "Damn it." Alex felt a chill run through him. So coincidental? He just lost an assassin, and John Wick was lying in a hospital with a bullet wound? Almost instinctively, Alex's gaze flicked toward Duggan, who was across the room cleaning his sniper rifle. For a moment, the thought of finishing Wick right here crossed his mind. Luckily, John's voice came again from the other side. "Mr. Alex, I'm not in New York right now. If you need me for a contract, you'll have to wait a while." Alex exhaled deeply in relief. He offered a few words of concern about John's injury, then hung up. Mexico City Center. Inside a private clinic. The doctor extracted the bullet from John Wick's abdomen, carefully stitching him up. John set his phone aside, slipping it into his jacket pocket. His fingers brushed against a business card. He pulled it out. The name read, Vigo Tarasov. John remembered. In Manhattan's Lower Town, the Tarasov mob controlled casinos, drugs, and red light work. The two brothers who had brought him here, clearly, they were tied to the Tarasovs. John slipped the card back into his pocket. At that moment, the doctor spoke, "All done. No water on the wound for the next few days." "Thank you. How much?" "No need. The two gentlemen who brought you already paid." John didn't reply. His gaze lingered briefly on the pocket where the card rested. He knew what that meant. He owed them a debt. Pulling on his jacket, he stepped outside. The sky, clear just moments ago, now opened into heavy rain. Clutching his abdomen, John staggered to the roadside, raising a hand to hail a cab. He tried several times. No luck. Then, an umbrella stretched over his head. John turned and saw a face that caught him off guard. "Thanks," he said, almost reflexively. The woman smiled softly. "You're welcome." For a few seconds, neither spoke. The air was thick with awkward silence. Finally, John broke it. "My name's John. John Wick. I came down from New York. Needed to clear my head." The woman giggled at his slightly awkward tone, easing the tension. Then she introduced herself. "I'm Helen. Helen Muna. I'm also from New York, but I'm here on business, not vacation." Meanwhile, back in New York. After confirming John wasn't the one involved, Alex got up, threw on his clothes, and headed with Duggan to the underground training base. By then, Margarita had returned to the hotel. On the weapons table lay the schematics she had just brought back: Glock 19 pistol blueprints, Czech CZ Scorpion SMG blueprints, Remington 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun blueprints. 3 sets in total. Still stained with blood. Clearly, not obtained through proper channels. "Margarita. Check which assassin we lost. I need to know roughly where it happened." Alex didn't even glance at the blueprints. Compared to that, after his call with Wick, an unease was growing in his chest. Sure enough, before Margarita could confirm, another system chime rang in Alex's head. Ding. Reminder, another one of your assassins, blue rank, has died, Margarita. Contact every assassin. Tell them to return to the hotel immediately. When the second system alert rang in his mind, Alex fell into brief silence. Then he raised his head and gave the order. Margarita didn't dare waste a second. She immediately had people reach out to the assassins working jobs outside, demanding they rush back to the hotel at once. Meanwhile, Alex paced back and forth inside the armory, his face dark. His mind was racing, analyzing rapidly. A possibility struck him. Someone was hunting down his assassins. As for who could be behind it, he didn't even need to think. Across the entire world, he had only one true enemy, the Camorra family. Of course, it couldn't have been Gianna's people personally. For one, Alex had just destroyed the Camorra's New York branch. In this city, Gianna had no killers left to deploy. Sure, she could send people all the way from Rome. But to go through so much trouble just to pick off a few of his assassins? Unrealistic. And besides, they had struck an agreement. As long as the Camorra didn't provoke him, Alex would not take action against them for 5 years. The deal had been made less than 24 hours ago. Gianna wasn't foolish enough to break it so soon. That left only one possibility. The Camorra had paid a price, enough to convince certain New York factions or organizations to go after him. A small price, a big payoff. Highly likely. Alex's brow eased slightly. The next step was simple. Find out which faction was targeting him. Then wipe them out. With that thought, Alex stopped pacing and gave another sharp command. Margarita. Get a car ready, I'm heading to the Continental. New York City. Lower Manhattan. At a quiet street corner, inside a little place called Showa Sushi. A man stood behind the counter, dressed in a chef's uniform and hat. His body was covered in ancient totem tattoos. With a sharp kitchen knife, he sliced sashimi with practiced rhythm. At his feet, another Japanese chef lay lifeless on the floor, a kneading stick jammed through his forehead. Blood trickled down from the wound, soaking into the man's shoes before running toward the drain. The tattooed man hummed some strange little tune while watching a car pull up outside the shop. A few seconds later, a man in a black suit stepped out. He cradled a ragged old stuffed doll in his hands. He glanced left, then right, ensuring the street was safe. Then, carefully, he began walking toward the sushi shop. But before he was 10 meters away from the entrance, his phone rang. He froze, pulled it out, and answered, and after listening to a terse order on the other end, he immediately turned back. Sliding into his car, he slammed the gas and drove away. The tattooed man inside the shop ripped off his chef's uniform in frustration. He grabbed a slice of fish from the counter, tossed it into his mouth, and chewed hard. His gaze never once strayed from the spot where the car had been. Hit. He spat the pulpy fish out onto the floor, muttering to himself like a man speaking with his own shadow. Ran away, why? I only killed 2, and they already sensed it? This lighthouse organization is interesting, and their suits, bulletproof, no less. He stroked the tailored jacket on his shoulders. It was exactly the same kind of suit he had seen on the man who just fled. Half an hour later, Alex arrived at the Continental Hotel. With him were Anna and Duggan. To guarantee his safety, Margarita had also assigned 6 blue-ranked assassins as escorts. Good afternoon, Mr. Alex. As always, Sharon stood at the front desk, offering a polite greeting. Good afternoon, Mr. Sharon. This time, Alex didn't stop to chat. With only a brief acknowledgement, he strode straight toward the bar. Watching the entourage storm past, Sharon quietly picked up the phone and dialed the hotel manager, Winston. Alex, meanwhile, entered the bar with Anna and Duggan at his side. The place was as lively as ever. Alex pulled out 2 gold coins, handing one to Anna. She quickly made her way deeper into the bar, seeking out the resident guide. After a short exchange, she left with him, 2 assassins from Alex's side following behind. As for Alex, he carried the other coin to the bar counter. Miss Addie, 4 glasses of whiskey, please. But Addie didn't take the coin. Because Winston had just appeared beside Alex. The manager picked up the coin and handed it back with a calm smile. These drinks are on me, Mr. Alex. In fact, I'd like a word with you. Alex carried a glass of whiskey in hand as he walked with Winston into a study on the hotel's 2nd floor. Sit. Winston gestured politely before settling into the sofa across from him. Alex placed the glass down, letting his eyes wander around the room. Dark. Old-fashioned. The perfect match for an old man's taste, he thought silently with a smirk. Then he sat. Mr. Winston, Alex said with curiosity, you wanted to see me alone. What exactly do you want to talk about? Winston leaned back, as if sinking into memories. His tone grew distant. Mr. Alex, patience. Allow an old man to tell you a story. Alex raised a brow, intrigued. 2 years ago, Winston began, New York also saw the rise of a very powerful figure. Oh. Alex's interest sharpened. Winston smiled faintly, recalling Alex's earlier words. I remember you once said that even the high table follows the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. The man I speak of was named Hex. He was even more reckless than you. He believed only by showing overwhelming force could he earn the high table's respect. Alex frowned. Clearly, Winston misunderstood his own philosophy. Still, he didn't bother correcting him. Winston went on. On his very first day in New York, Hex stormed into the Continental, abducted Sharon and me, and dragged us back to his lair. He boasted that he could stand as an equal to the high table itself. Winston's eyes hardened. The end, I think, you can already guess. Alex nodded. Of course he could. One man, Winston continued, raising a single finger. The high table sent only one man. Jonathan, John Wick. Poor Hex, along with his daughter and hundreds of killers, were buried beneath his arrogance. I understand. Alex grasped Winston's purpose in telling the story, his warning. To keep a low profile. Not to show too much of his edge. But Alex could only smile inwardly. He appreciated the gesture. As for keeping a low profile, if no one offends me, I bide my time. But if someone dares cross me, I strike like thunder. He lifted his glass, drained it in one go, then rose to his feet. Thank you, Mr. Winston. Alex never assumed anyone's kindness was without motive. A man like Winston, who had climbed to become manager of the Continental, didn't offer advice out of sheer goodwill. Perhaps he was simply building goodwill for the future. But thanks still had to be given. Winston waved a hand, smiling, and stood as well. He patted Alex's shoulder warmly and gave one final reminder. Your feud with the Camorra family is already known to the high table. My advice, whatever troubles may come, try not to make any more noise, at least for now. Thank you, Alex said again sincerely before leaving the study. At the door, Duggan and 2 assassins had been standing guard. When Alex emerged, they instantly fell in step with him. Downstairs, Anna had already returned, waiting for some time, by the look of it. You've got the intel? Alex asked. Anna nodded. The assassin beside her lifted a black briefcase in confirmation. Good. Let's head back to the club. Without hesitation, Alex strode out of the Continental. Safe travels, Mr. Alex. We look forward to your next visit. Karen's voice followed politely from behind. Alex didn't turn back. He only raised his right hand in acknowledgement as he stepped out the door. On the road back to the Lighthouse Club, Anna gave Alex a rundown of New York's current power map. First, the 12 families behind the 12 seats of the high table, each controlled its own territory. The Hongman Triad ruled Chinatown. The Italian Mafia dominated Queens. The Russian Roma mob controlled Broadway Avenue. And of course, the Camorra family had once held Times Square in Upper Manhattan, until Alex wiped them out. Beyond that stood another massive organization, the Night Demon Syndicate. Founded and run by a killer known only as the Night Demon, the syndicate had absorbed multiple gangs, the Vigo Mob, the Mondelli Crew, the Yellowstone Gang, and many others. Together, they controlled nearly half of New York City. Anna's explanation was detailed enough. Even without the specifics of each gang, Alex now had a clear picture of the landscape. What caught his attention most were 2 names, the Night Demon Syndicate and the Vigo Mob. From what he remembered, it wouldn't be long before John Wick, seeking retirement, would tear apart the Night Demon Syndicate, killing its founder himself. And the Vigo Mob? They would rise in power, only to be annihilated 5 years later, because of a dog. Back at the hotel, Alex didn't head down to the underground training base. Instead, he went up to the 2nd floor and stepped into the manager's office. Susie was buried in busy work, furniture purchase orders, daily payroll sheets, all the little things. Seeing Alex come in, she immediately stood, vacated the chair, and greeted him respectfully. Mr. Alex. She poured a hot coffee and set it before him. Alex wasn't particular. He didn't even sit. He just nodded, took the case Anna handed over, flipped it open, and pointed at the files inside. Put what you're doing on hold. Arrange 20 assassins. Bring me the nearest gang bosses, now. Understood, Mr. Alex. Susie answered at once. She lowered her head, flipped quickly through the stack, pulled out 4 dossiers, and hurried out of the office. 5 minutes later, down in the underground garage, 4 brand new SUVs rolled out one after another. Each vehicle carried 5 people, green-quality assassins, fully kitted out. At the Santos Avenue intersection, the 4 cars split at the light and peeled off in 3 different directions. One of them stopped 2 blocks later beneath a sign that read Deli Lending Company. The moment the car braked, the neighborhood toughs loitering out front, smoking, jawing at each other, turned to look. Then 5 fully armed assassins stepped out, and the street scattered like birds shot from the brush. Everyone bolted. The 5 moved fast. They pushed through the door and swept the corridor. A few punks tried to draw, then took one look at the team and dropped their weapons, squatting with hands on heads. The assassins didn't fire a single shot. They went straight into the manager's office. One pulled out a photocopy from the dossier and looked at the bull-shouldered black man behind the desk. "You Bruno Leo? Boss of the deli gang?" "Yeah. What do you want?" Bruno swallowed, trying to look calm. "Don't ask questions," the assassin said flatly. "Right now you either stand up and come with us in 5 seconds, or we put a bullet in you and take your replacement." Then he started counting on his own. 5, 4, 3. The chair clattered to the floor. After 2 seconds of stunned silence, Bruno shot to his feet so fast he knocked it over. Expressionless, the team turned and headed for the door without even looking back. Bruno followed meekly down the stairs. The other 3 teams were just as efficient, returning with 3 more gang bosses from 3 other locations. Lighthouse Hotel. By then Susie had returned to the office. Alex was sitting, tasting the coffee she'd poured. She stepped to the desk, glanced at Anna and Duggan on the sofa, then laid the 4 dossiers out. Pulling up a chair beside Alex, she went back to the paperwork she hadn't finished. Alex wasn't interested in the admin. He picked up the files and read carefully. Profile: Bruno Leo, age, 41, gang, deli gang, primary rackets, lending, collections, red light services. Profile: Harold Black, age, 52, organization, Hadro organization, primary rackets, bootleg liquor smuggling, red light services, fencing stolen goods. Profile: Takuya Matsuo, age, 37, group, Takuya Kai, primary rackets, drug smuggling, human trafficking, organ trade. Profile: Irene Ludmilla, age, 35, gang, Giselle Crew, primary rackets, arms sales, money laundering, underground casinos. The 4 of them formed a ring, controlling more than 70% of Upper Manhattan's gray markets. They complemented one another, no one encroaching on anyone else's profits. Of course, Alex felt zero goodwill toward Takuya Matsuo. Even without seeing him in person, he'd already made up his mind. When it was time to make an example, he'd start with that one. About 10 minutes later, the 4 SUVs pulled up to the hotel entrance. The moment the assassins dragged out the 4 gang bosses, their composure shattered. It was no surprise. That night's gunfight, everyone in the underworld had heard about it. Sweat beaded on their foreheads, knees turning weak. But the assassins didn't give them time to steady themselves. Those who could still walk were hauled inside. Those who couldn't were carried. In a daze, the 4 were dumped into the second-floor manager's office. Thud. The first to collapse to his knees was the weakest of them all, Takuya Matsuo. For all the people he'd trafficked, for all the organs he'd sold, it didn't matter. The more blood on his hands, the greater his fear now. The others weren't much better. They didn't fall straight to their knees like him, but none dared lift their heads. The room was silent. Alex sat in the boss's chair, studying them with amusement. A hulking black man. An aging white man. The trembling Japanese. And a mixed-race Russian woman who still carried a certain allure. The pressure mounted until finally Alex broke the silence. "Do you know why I called you here?" The only woman, Irene Ludmilla, was the first to respond. "Respected sir, forgive my ignorance, but I cannot guess your purpose. However, if you give the order, I will comply." Her voice trembled, but the words were fluent. Clearly rehearsed on the way over. Her statement opened the floodgates. Bruno Leo, Harold Black, and finally Takuya Matsuo all rushed to declare their willingness. But Alex's reply wasn't words. It was a bullet. Bang. The round punched into Takuya's right leg. Ah! His scream tore through the room, making the other 3 shudder violently. Their last shred of defiance collapsed. They sank to their knees. 2 assassins moved in, gagging Takuya with cloth until the sound was stifled. Only then did Alex offer a cold excuse. "I don't like people who aren't eager to answer my questions." Cold sweat dripped down 3 foreheads. Alex let the silence linger, giving them time to let the fear sink deeper. Then he spoke again. "The reason I brought you here is simple. I want you to fold your territories and businesses into the Lighthouse organization." "I agree." This time Harold Black blurted first, followed quickly by Irene Ludmilla and Bruno Leo. Takuya tried to mumble through the gag, desperate. Bang. Another shot. This one into his left leg. MMMPH. The gag muffled his howl, eyes rolling as pain nearly knocked him out. Alex sneered, again offering a cold justification. I don't like people who refuse to answer my questions. The other three trembled violently, each swallowing hard. Alex lowered the gun, picked up his coffee, and took a slow sip. His sharp gaze swept over them. By now, the fear had sunk bone deep. Only one final strike was needed to crush all thought of betrayal. I am a fairman. I don't care what you've earned before. From now on, you will hand over half your quarterly profits. In return, the lighthouse will guarantee your lives. The three listened in dead silence, too afraid to even breathe. Just as they were about to voice their agreement, Takuya ripped the gag loose and wailed, I agree. I agree. Respected sir, whatever you say, I'll do it. His words broke into sobs. Alex only looked at him with that faint, mocking smile. Then he raised the gun again and, without hesitation, put a bullet through Takuya's skull. Bang. Blood sprayed. The three survivors froze, pupils wide, minds blank with shock. Until Alex's voice dragged them back into reality. I hate being interrupted when I'm speaking. His tone was ice. The kind of chill that crawled into the marrow. A wave of his hand. The assassins dragged Takuya's corpse away to be fed into the incinerator. Alex holstered his weapon, sat back down, and sipped his coffee once more. Then came his orders. The three of you, when you return, bring your families here to the Lighthouse Hotel. My advice, do it willingly. Otherwise, your end will be ugly. And one last thing. I'm giving you 1 week. Use your gang's methods to expand. I expect your territories to be at least twice their current size by the time the week is over. After sending the three away, Susie finally finished her tasks. She stood up, took the empty cup from Alex Cross's hand, and set it aside. Puzzled, she asked, Mr. Cross, we really don't need to keep those people alive. Wouldn't it be more efficient to just eliminate them, take their territory, and have our assassins expand outward step by step? Because of the high table. Alex Cross rubbed his brow, leaned back in the chair, and stretched his neck. Susie instantly understood. She moved behind him and began massaging his shoulders. Only then did Alex Cross lazily continue, my original plan was more direct. Collect intel on every gang in New York, wipe them all out, and then assign people to take over. That way I could claim the whole city in the shortest possible time and also quickly flush out the mysterious person who killed our two assassins. At this point, Alex Cross sighed. Unfortunately, when I went to the Continental, Winston told me the high table has already set their eyes on me. The moment she heard those three words, high table, even Susie's massage paused for a second. She instinctively asked, Mr. Cross, should we make preparations? Alex Cross shook his head. No need. This isn't good news, but as long as I keep a low profile and don't stir up too much chaos for a while, the high table will turn a blind eye. Hearing this, Susie suddenly realized. Her tone carried a trace of excitement. So that's it. Mr. Cross, you thought of using gangs to fight gangs. Alex Cross accepted the admiration calmly. After all, the rules of the assassin underworld didn't apply to gangs. That was common sense. It's just that in a world dominated by the high table, no one ever thought to look at the problem from outside their rules. So, the gangs were nothing but pawns. After leaving the hotel, Bruno, Harold, and Irene each took action. Bruno rushed to hail a taxi. On the ride, he cursed at the driver to go faster while phoning his wife, telling her to wait at home with their kids. Then he called back to Delhi Loan Company, calmed his men, and quickly set plans into motion. Harold, on the other hand, was calmer. His first call was to his most trusted lieutenant, instructing him to pick up his wife and children. He himself unhurriedly hailed a cab and headed back to his base. The smartest was Irene. Standing outside the hotel, she first phoned her husband, telling him to bring their son to the Lighthouse Hotel. Then she called her deputy, ordering her to bring all ledgers and important records to the Lighthouse Hotel. Only after that did she turn around, return inside, and book a luxury suite. This woman had decided to move her entire gang headquarters into the Lighthouse Hotel itself. When Alex Cross heard, he didn't refuse. He only had Susie remind Irene not to completely empty her old headquarters. For now, the illusion had to be maintained. Afterward, Alex Cross ordered Margarita, for the next week, don't let the assassins take outside contracts. By 6 in the evening, with the 3 gang bosses sending their families to the hotel, a gang war sweeping across New York erupted. Yellowstone Gang, a fringe gang under the Night Demon organization, its turf bordering the Delhi gangs. They had always coexisted peacefully. At 7 p.m., in the Yellowstone-controlled streets, casinos, bars, and strip clubs were running as usual. Gang enforcers loitered nearby, killing time with crude chatter. "Willie, you don't even know, last night some chick got wasted, and I took her back, damn, she was wild." "That's nothing. I had 2 last night." Outside a bar, a few thugs were boasting when, bang! A single gunshot shattered the relaxed atmosphere. The bullet didn't hit anyone, serving only as a warning. More than a dozen Delhi gangsters, wielding mismatched pistols, had their sights trained on the Yellowstone men about to flee. One shouted, "Yellowstone scum. Anyone who runs, I'll drop you." And sure enough, with a dozen guns pointed their way, none of them dared move. But soon, 7 or 8 Yellowstone gunmen rushed out of the bar, weapons drawn. Bang! Another shot into the air. The leader sneered, "Delhi trash, if you've got the guts, pull the trigger." Bang! Before the words had finished, the Mun was shot. Not a fatal hit, but enough to leave him screaming. "Kill them! Open fire! Shoot them all!" Bang! 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 Bullets flew. Gunfire erupted everywhere. Bodies weren't piling up, but screams echoed across the Yellowstone turf. The gang war had begun. 5 days passed in a flash. Because of Alex's maneuvers, New York's gang chaos didn't subside. Instead, it grew even worse. St. Dien Strip Club. Bang! 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 Night Demon, bare-chested, fists wrapped in brass knuckles, struck the sandbag again and again. Beneath it, blood seeped out continuously. A nervous gang boss under the Night Demon organization stood nearby, reporting the latest news. Yellowstone has already lost 2/3 of its turf. At this pace, it'll be gone completely very soon. And besides Yellowstone, 2 of our other satellite groups have been wiped out by the Hadro organization and the Giselle gang. Their turf is gone too. Bang! A heavy punch. Rip! The sandbag tore apart. A mutilated figure rolled out, collapsing into the pool of blood on the floor, whimpering faintly. The sight made the reporting boss tremble violently. Night Demon removed his brass knuckles, calmly picked up a towel, wiped the blood from his fists, crouched down, and stared coldly at the Mun dying on the ground. "Bradley, your Yellowstone gang couldn't block those filthy rats. That means, you no longer have any reason to live." He stood, and with one kick snapped the man's neck. 5 days. And those 3 gangs haven't slowed down at all. He turned, looking at the reporting boss. The Mun swallowed hard and quickly answered, "No, the 3 gangs, they're fighting with no restraint." "Hey, and aren't they the ones closest to the Lighthouse Hotel?" "Yes. And the Takuya Kai, their leader was taken 5 days ago and hasn't been seen since. Their turf is now being used as the Lighthouse organization's outpost." "This Lighthouse organization, looks like they want to force me out personally." Night Demon's lips curled into a cold smile. "Find me a few capable fighters from the Vigo gang and the Vietnamese gang. Tell them to bring me the leader of the Delhi gang, alive." Early in the morning, a familiar system notification rang in Alex's mind. Ding! System shop refresh complete. This week's discount items have been updated. His eyes snapped open. Before even sitting up, he muttered eagerly, "System, open the shop." The familiar panel appeared. 1. Bulletproof suit times 100. Kevlar suits debuting in the John Wick world 5 years later. Automatically fitted after first wear. Price, 10 coins, 90% off. Limited. 2. Blind Box Assassin Experience Card times 10. Consumable item. Grants random assassins peak strength and experience for 10 minutes. Price, 20 coins, 90% off, limited, dot. 3. Assassin recruitment scroll, purple, ×1. Summons an assassin from another movie world. Purple grade, absolute loyalty. Price, 40 coins, 80% off, limited, dot. 4. Facility upgrade card, green, ×1. Upgrades any level 1 facility to level 2. Price, 50 coins, 50% off, limited, dot. 5. Assassin camp level 2. Every 24 hours, automatically recruits 5 elite assassins, green grade. Price, 100 coins, 70% off, limited, dot. Nice. Alex clenched his fist in excitement. He hadn't expected the free shop refresh to be so generous. Without hesitation, he opened his personal backpack, checking his gold balance. Sand coins, 433. Enough. He instantly bought everything. The moment the items arrived, Alex eagerly pulled out the purple assassin recruitment scroll. A thought, the scroll vanished. Purple light filled the room. And then, a tall figure appeared. Her build rivaled Anna's. Alex immediately checked her profile panel. Name, Nikita. Age, 26. Height, 170 centimeters. Skills, English level 4, Mandarin level 4, Stealth and Disguise level 3, Close Combat level 4, Firearms Mastery level 4, Driving level 3, Hacking level 3. Talents, Firearms Affinity level 4, Fast Learner level 4. Flaw, too emotional, doomed never to become the very top assassin. Alex smacked his lips. He hadn't expected to summon this woman. The underground training base. As usual, Anna was training. Over this time, her stamina, reflexes, and overall ability had grown noticeably. It wouldn't take long before she rose into the ranks of top-tier assassins. Alex didn't disturb her. Instead, he brought Nikita and Duggan Jackal to the armory. First, he let Nikita choose her own weapons. Then, alone, he entered an unused room and took out the level 2 assassin camp plaque. Just like before, he placed it down. Name, Assassin Camp. Level 2. Effect, every 24 hours, automatically recruits 5 assassins. Countdown, 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. After a quick glance at the info, Alex stopped paying attention. At that moment, Susie arrived. Mr. Alex, the club and the hotel have been fully repaired. They can be put into operation now. Also, Miss Irene wishes to see you. Alex frowned, recalling the name. He remembered, among the 4 crime bosses he had invited 5 days ago, Irene had been one of them. She was also the one who performed the best. So, he agreed. All right. Tell her I'll meet her in your office in half an hour. Susie nodded but didn't leave. Seeing her hesitant expression, Alex raised a brow. Susie, if there's something else, just say it. She exhaled and spoke. Mr. Alex. The assassins we secretly sent to protect Mr. Kane and his daughter have reported back. His daughter has been taken by the high table. That one sentence made Alex's brow tighten. They didn't intervene. Forgive me, Mr. Alex. I told them not to expose themselves. Why? You said yourself. This isn't the time to make big moves. Alex's gaze grew cold. He didn't scold her, but his voice was like ice. When I said to stay low profile, it was never at the cost of abandoning anyone in this organization. Then he gave his order. Immediately arrange for our 10 most elite assassins. Send them to Paris at once. They will follow Kane's lead. Yes, Mr. Alex. This time, Susie obeyed without hesitation and quickly left. Watching her depart, Alex gestured for Duggan to step closer. When he did, Alex spoke in a low voice. Jackal, you'll secretly fly to Paris. Contact Kane directly. Find a way to rescue his daughter and bring her back to New York. Understood. Duggan departed at once, with 5 gold coins, a forged passport, and a plane car driven out of the hotel's underground garage. With him gone, Nikita temporarily took over as Alex's personal guard. Meanwhile, in New York's lower district, Vigo's territory. Carrying Night Demon's command, Pop, a gang boss, hurried to meet Vigo, who had only returned to the city 2 days earlier. Vigo. Pop. You've heard about what's happening in New York, right? Yeah, got back the other night. My men already told me. What's this? Night Demon sent you. Pouring 2 glasses of whiskey, Vigo walked over to the sofa, handing one to Pop. Taking it, Pop sipped, then let out a heavy sigh. Right in front of me, the Yellowstone boss was beaten to death by Night Demon like a punching bag. Hearing this, the faint smile on Vigo's face hardened. He silently studied Pop, stroked his unshaven beard, then tested him with a probing tone. Caught between Night Demon and this lighthouse, sooner or later, we're finished. Tell me about it. The Delhi Gang, Giselle Gang, and Hadro organization. No idea what's wrong with them, but they're burning money just to seize territory like madmen. Pop didn't hold back, speaking his mind. The fear of Night Demon had gotten to him. So much so that even with Vigo, he let his guard down. Vigo took a small sip of whiskey, crossed his legs, and pushed further. If we could somehow break free of Night Demon and strike a peaceful coexistence with the Lighthouse organization, wouldn't that be ideal? Forget it. Night Demon's been hiring killers straight from the high table. The moment we disobey, we're dead. The room went silent. Vigo's mind drifted back to Mexico a few days ago, when he had saved a man who killed 3 with nothing but a pencil. Afterward, he even received a call from him. The man had introduced himself as John Wick. Codename, Baba Yaga. An assassin of the high table.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.